Aita for abandoning my wheelchair-bound best friend in a mall parking lot. I've been friends with, let's just call her A for about 11 years. 3 years ago she was involved in a car accident which left her wheelchair-bound. I'm 16 now, and I've been her best friend since I was 5. Her crash was a rough time for me personally as well, of course not as rough as hers, since my friend was in a car crash, and I just lost my dog. But I put her in front of losing my dog, even though 13-year-old me was wrecked, and tried my best to be her rock while she was in tough times. After she got better, we hung out and was the same as before. Just that as time went on, I felt like the power balance wasn't equal anymore. I was always taking care of her, and everything had to go her way. To an extent, I was okay with this since I couldn't fathom going through what she was going through, so I kept my mouth shut and was there for her. Every phone call, every text, every, "Can you do this for me?" I did it. But at one point, I found that I held some resentment towards her, and this grew as everyone around me just expected me to take care of her. I couldn't do certain things because it reminded her of when she could walk, and I couldn't hang out with other people cause she felt like she was losing me. I had to get up whenever she wanted to get something, pick up whatever food she ordered, tie her shoelaces, carry her bags around, walk her dog, take her things to class, and so on. Whenever I complained or tried to vent, I was always hit with the, "But imagine what she's going through, poor thing." And so, the resentment grew and grew. This blew up yesterday. Yesterday, we were at the mall picking things out, even though because of my asthma I really didn't want to go out, and she got caught with some unpaid clothes in her bag. She just blamed me, in front of everyone in the store, and only when the security camera showed her putting something in her bag, she admitted to lying. I was furious, and after I called a car for her, told her to "stay away from me and find someone else to take care of your lazy ass since I'm not your fucking mom," and left her in the surprisingly well-lit parking lot. Her mother, who was absent through a lot of this time due to God knows what, phoned my mother, saying I broke her daughter's heart and abandoned her in a parking lot, and everyone, except for my dad, is telling me that I crossed a line and put her in danger, and to put myself in her shoes. Everyone is telling me that I'm not a true friend and that I'm selfish. It's kind of getting in my head, and if I'm as right as I thought I was. Sorry about how long this is, this was about 2.5 years worth of venting, but AITA. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Info. Why didn't the store call the police her parents? It seems really strange they would go to the trouble of reviewing security footage to verify who shoplifted and then just let her go. Reply. Haha, yeah, sorry about the unclear phrasing. So I'll answer this because of a lot of these questions are here and in my chat. We weren't there to steal or anything. I was picking out some clothes, like to buy them. I said, got caught with unpaid clothes, because I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt since it could have been an accident, but then she blamed me, so yeah. I called her a car since she was my friend for almost all my life, and it was my job for a lot of our relationship, so I did it. Also, I had the car's phone number on the top of my lists, so it was just more convenient. Yes, she cried about her trauma and everything she went through, and the manager looked kinda scared to press her into anything, so he just warned her and let her go. I mean, it's hard to arrest a teen girl crying about her legitimately horrifying accident for stealing a couple of shirts. Felt a bit bad for him since he looked absolutely lost. Commenter 2. So why did they even look at the footage? Were they going to press charges if you were the one who did the shoplifting? Reply. Probably, but they did mainly because I caused a scene, and if I really did steal it and put someone else, especially someone vulnerable, the crime is a lot worse than just shoplifting, which I did not do, which then I would be pressed with charges. Updated. I did not expect this much attention, so this was very unexpected. Thank you guys for being so nice to me, and for giving me advice, I really appreciate it. Sorry about the term wheelchair bound, I didn't know that was offensive, and I never really talked to her about her wheelchair, sensitive topic for her and I didn't want to push, so I never really learned the correct terminology. I can't change the title, but I'm sorry. Dog thing, yeah, my resentment kind of started with my dog being forgotten. While it is nothing to what she went through, I really liked the dog and I had to bury him myself, which started my unjustified and immature resentment. I was mad no one even talked about the dog, totally petty, but honestly, that started it. I never really resolved my resentment, which is my bad, because, in the place I live, it's horrible for people with disabilities. As I accompanied her in her life, it gave me some insight on how hard life was for people who couldn't walk, and so my resentment would be suppressed with this feeling of gratefulness for my ableness. I left her in the exit of the parking lot, and there were glass doors to the outside. She had her phone which she could use to call her mother, don't know if she did though, and there was security in yelling reach. She could move around, still, it wasn't great leaving her like that, it wasn't cool and I could have hurt her. Also, for those wondering, the car was the car we took to get to the mall, so we knew the driver and it fit her wheelchair. What I did, I told my parents the full story. My mother was fuming when she called A's parents, and they said they would talk to her. I also called everyone who was against me so I could tell them the full story without having to be mean and unnecessarily public. Most of them quickly gave me the NTA. I called her too and told her leaving her in the parking lot was wrong, but I wouldn't apologize for it as I could not forgive her for what she did. I told her to take care of herself from now on, and that I wouldn't be her friend anymore. My dad got me a new dog, and my parents hosted a real burial for my last dog, just us three because of the pandemic, but it helped me a lot. My dad told me he was proud of me for doing what I did and told me about boundaries and how important they were. In all honesty, I'm sort of glad this happened so I wouldn't have been with her longer. I learned a lot about boundaries, toxic friendships and how to talk about my emotions. Thank you guys for being so supportive. I really didn't expect this much people reading this, but thank you. I'm not friends with her anymore, but I've got my dog, so it's fine. Stories number 2. Aita for calling the police on a 2-year-old child running around my neighborhood unsupervised. Some little kid was outside playing with my boys in a suburban neighborhood. He was 2 years old, couldn't even talk yet. If I had to guess, he probably had only been walking for 8 months. He was that young. He was out there with his cousin sister, who was only 7. She didn't know how she was related to him when I asked, "Is that your brother?" I have no idea who either of these children are. I've seen the sister cousin before in the neighborhood, but where she lived or what her name is I couldn't tell you. So I called the non-emergency number and told them, "Hey, there's this 2-year-old little boy out here without an adult and his 7-year-old sister, what do you want me to do?" And the dispatcher told me to keep them there and they would send an officer out. She asked me to stay on the phone until the officer got there, and while waiting they tried to leave, so I told the dispatcher that and she said she wanted me to keep them there so the officer could talk to the kids' parents. So I asked if they would stay and they did. The officer finally showed up, and right when he did our neighbor came out and was like, "Why did you call the police? This isn't a police matter. This child is not my neighbor's child." I had until tonight a good rapport with my neighbor so I knew it wasn't theirs. I was like, "Man, this boy can't even talk yet, he's so young," and she started screaming at me saying I should have taken him into my house and kept him safe. I said, "I'm not taking some 2-year-old kid into my home without the parents knowing. I'm a 32-year-old male." She kept screaming at me saying, "We take care of the kids in our neighborhood. If it was your kids I would do the same. You let them run around without you out here. What if you were miles away and you found out that someone called the police on your kids?" Which isn't true, because my kids hate that I only let them outside if I'm with them. She said I'm a bad person because I'm treating it like he's neglected. She told the officer that she will handle it and started walking the boy home. I'm dumbfounded and embarrassed. Like, what the fuck was I supposed to do? Just let this little kid run around the neighborhood? The cars use our street as a drag strip cause it's so straight and long, and this kid couldn't even form words, he was that young. The officer just let her leave with the boy and didn't even go talk to the parents. The whole neighborhood came outside to see what was happening cause this lady was screaming at me. So am I the asshole? Stories number 3. $10 to help me find this rubber band. Okay, so. This might be confusing. I feel like I'm losing my mind. 2-ish months ago this purple rubber band appeared in my house. My cat found it. Immediately bonded with it. It's her favorite toy. She sleeps with it. We play fetch with it. I have no idea where it came from. I've searched Amazon. I've tried to Google it. I thought maybe it was a resistance band. I don't think it is, unless it's not American. This one isn't long enough. I thought it was a trash can band, but they're all much thicker and flatter. It's almost ready to tear in 2 places. Even taking these couple of photos she is pissed I am touching it and not playing with her with it. She's the sweetest, smartest little angel and I just want to find her more before this one breaks. For the record, all of my cats have a favorite toy, we have backups for all of them. This just happened to be Pepper Jack's. Please 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 help me. I'm 7.5 months pregnant and I spend my evenings searching the internet for rubber bands, approximately 24 inches around, 1 to an inch thick. Purple, please help. I will pay you. I will name my child after you. Comments. Commenter 1. I found it. It's in the first photograph. Pay up. Reply. Congrats, you're the 100th to comment this, and because of that we've decided you must actually pay me. Update. Searched all of your suggestions. I love the internet and all of you. Bought a glass Snapware bowl, was not a match. Disassembled all possible Tupperware in my own cabinet. Made trips to 2 Walmarts, at 10 p.m. Felt up probably 50 plus bowls and containers. Ordered plastic Snapware. Ordered 2 more kinds of rubber bands. Purchased headbands, not rubber, stretchy lycra, and she seems happy. She has 6 of them, she's been tossing them around. The real test will be what comes to bed with us tonight. Thank you all so much. More updates to come. Cat with rubber band. Comments. Commenter 1. At the time of writing this, my app is saying I'm here with 77 other people. We're all rooting for you and your little guy. Reply, I'm genuinely tearing up at this. Commenter 2. This was such a wonderful rabbit hole to go down while I'm riding out a cyclone lol, it's so nice to see humans link up like this. Update. Plastic Tupperware sadly did not work. Inside tubing was too hollow. I will try Target tomorrow, as well as a hardware store. For now she seems content with the old one and her new headbands. We also ordered a package of headbands and 2 more packs of rubber bands. I'm going to try one of the resistance bands posted below as well. Pepper Jack says thank you to everyone still here. Stories number 4. My husband and I disagree on politics. He doesn't understand why it affects me so much. My husband, 31M, and I, 28F, have been together since I was 18. We got married 2.5 years ago. We've never had a major argument. We listen to each other and understand our views and take accountability. We support each other's decisions. And of course, we always agreed on politics. Until the last year. In 2024, I had 3 pregnancy losses. If I couldn't have received the care I did, I might be dead. I have many friends that are LGBTQ+. DI directly affects me. He told me he just wanted what's best for our future, cheaper groceries, better mortgage rates. I tried to have an honest conversation about tariffs. I tried to say even if all of that was true and possible, what about my rights? He said I wouldn't lose my rights, that part wasn't true. Since November, we haven't brought up politics. He mentioned the other day that the cost of his company car might increase, since they're manufactured in Mexico. He's complained about the price of eggs. He doesn't see that it's what he voted for. I'm so upset and lost. I know there's so many women in this position, I just didn't think I'd be one. His family has the same views. My family is conservative too. I have no support system for myself. I do love him. I love how he treats me and makes sure I'm taken care of, but this part of him, that wasn't there for the last 10 years, is tearing me apart. I've reached out to therapists to set up appointments and try to get some guidance. Maybe couples counseling. I'm just lost. I don't know if I'm venting or what, but if you made it this far, thank you. Stories number 5. My girlfriend's ultimate betrayal, how I found out she was cheating with 4 guys. So yeah, never thought I'd be posting here, but man, I need to get this off my chest. Been with my girl for 3 years and was legit saving for a ring and everything. Then her phone starts blowing up at 2 a.m. like every night. She's all, it's just work stuff, but like, at 2 a.m. Come on. I know everyone says don't go through your partner's phone, but whatever, I did it anyway and holy crap, my life just exploded right there. Wasn't just one dude. 4 different guys. All these separate convos with pics I never want to see again, them planning hookups, and worst part. They were all joking about me. One was literally my best friend since we were kids, another was her boss, classic, our freaking neighbor from down the hall, and that gay friend she was always hanging out with who, surprise surprise, wasn't actually gay. This had been going on for like 8 months while I'm working double shifts to save for our future and stuff. When I finally confronted her, I thought she'd at least try to deny it or cry or something. Nope. She straight up laughed and was like, took you long enough to figure it out. Said I was too predictable and she was bored. My so-called best friend texted later saying, it wasn't personal and these things happen. Like WTF man, I just grabbed my stuff that night while she went out to clear her head, which probably meant hooking up with one of them tbh. It's been like 2 months now. Moved to a different city, blocked all their asses, started therapy cause I was messed up. Then yesterday she calls from some random number crying about how she made a huge mistake. Turns out boss dude fired her after getting what he wanted, neighbor moved away, my ex-friend got busted by his girlfriend, and the gay friend ghosted her once he got bored. She had the nerve to ask if we could work things out. I just laughed and hung up. Some things you just can't fix, and finding out your girlfriend's been living a whole secret life with 4 other dudes. Yeah, that's definitely one of them. Stories number 6. Aita for telling my friend that I was done inviting her to parties. I, 22F, throw a lot of dinner parties, like a ton. I love to cook, so I always put food on the table and I'm a pretty good chef, I'd say. One of my friends comes to all of them. The problem is, she takes all the leftovers. ISTG, every single time that there's a scrap left, she takes it. And I appreciate that she doesn't want to waste food. That's not the problem. The problem is, I want some leftovers, too. So, I told her when we were eating this time, hey, don't take the leftovers, okay? And she was like, yeah, sounds good. Fast forward to the end of party. She takes the goddamn leftovers. When I notice later that night, I text her, hey, if you can't stop taking the leftovers, I'm not gonna invite you anymore. She says okay. Next time that she comes over for a party, I remind her when we're eating, don't take the leftovers. She says okay. When she's about to leave, I was sitting near the table. Guess what I see, she's taking the leftovers. So I tell her that if she couldn't listen to a boundary I set, the clear consequence that I discussed with her was that she would not be invited to any more parties. She said that it wasn't fair that she couldn't have some, and she was only taking a bit this time. I'm not sure if that's true, but I told her I didn't want her to take any. She says okay and puts them back. Fast forward to next time I hosted a party. She isn't invited. Apparently she found out through the grapevine, makes sense, we share quite a few friends, and she got pissed as hell, saying that she put them back and I should have invited her again. I think she might be right. Am I the asshole? Stories number 7. Found out my wife has been cheating on me. We have a 6-week-old baby. My wife, 31, and I, 28, have been together nearly 8 years, married for 3. We have a 3-year-old son and a newborn. We have a loving relationship where we're best friends, have great communication, and amazing and regular sex, which has just started again following the pregnancy. All in all, I would say a very healthy relationship. Almost 2 years ago now, I uncovered my wife's affair. I had picked up her phone to use it for my son because I didn't have mine to hand, and saw a flirtatious message between her and her work colleague, let's call him Jay. I immediately challenged my wife and she said he was just being flirty because he was drunk and the message made her feel uncomfortable. I asked to see the rest of the conversation but she had deleted it because of how uncomfortable she had felt. I had some red flags but had no reason to truly disbelieve her, so we talked it through and I tried to let it go. Fast forward a couple of weeks and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more going on. I did the horrible thing of checking through her phone, and in her deleted photos, I found some pictures of her and Jay kissing. I immediately brought this to her and asked what was going on. She admitted that she'd been having an affair with Jay for 2 months. They'd kissed and masturbated each other once, but that was it. It was mostly an emotional affair. She said she'd been having a crisis since she turned 30 earlier that year and was struggling mentally. She was feeling old and that when Jay had shown an interest in her, it made her feel sexy and it was exciting. She wasn't in love with Jay but felt trapped in the affair because he was in love with her, and if it got out, she could lose her job because she is a higher rank than him. I asked her whether she chose me in our life, or him, and she chose us. Fast forward a year and my wife and I were discussing having another child. We'd moved on a lot since I discovered the affair and we had actually become closer as a result. We fell pregnant quickly, but the pregnancy itself was tough because she has hyperemesis, severe pregnancy morning sickness. This wrecked her both physically and mentally. This was when I noticed her getting closer to Jay, but it seemed just to be a friendship. I was skeptical but believed my wife when she had regrets the original affair. My wife was very open and honest about her friendship with Jay, and revealed a lot to me, so I didn't feel any need to doubt her, especially as we were having another child together. Her friendship with Jay was up and down as he kept pushing her away, especially when he found out she was pregnant. I put this down to him still having feelings for my wife and being heartbroken, or something that she had fully moved on. Our baby girl was born in January 2025 and my wife and I were a firm team and all seemed well. She went on maternity leave and we coped with the transition to having 2 children. It was at this time that Jay completely distanced himself from my wife, which she again told me all about. She felt upset about it but said she didn't care because she had her family to look after. Again, I believed her. Foolishly, about a month into her maternity leave, Elle came upon my wife texting her cousin. I walked up behind her whilst doing errands and saw she had screenshotted a message to Jay she had sent earlier that day saying this was the longest they'd gone without talking and that she missed him. I told her I thought this was totally inappropriate and I didn't like the emotional weight of her saying she missed him. She told me it wasn't in any way other than as a friendship. For whatever reason, I started to get doubts about what had been going on between Jay and my wife. A couple of weeks later, our family traveled to Rome to spend time with my wife's family. She is Italian and she grew up there. She went out with her cousin one night and I felt compelled to check the notes on her iPad because I knew that she sometimes wrote down thoughts there. I found essentially a diary entry or perhaps a draft message to Jay where she said doesn't do friend with benefits, and whilst the physical parts of their relationship were fun, it wasn't worth the risk if there wasn't more to it. She also said she still loved him but couldn't commit if he didn't love her and she would stick with me if she had to. This entry was on December 28th. The next morning, I found a moment when my wife left her phone and quickly checked her WhatsApp. In the locked messages section, I found her conversation with Jay and the night before they were sexting. I didn't get much time with the phone but I'd seen enough. I can't imagine that sexting is the furthest they've gone during the affair. I was devastated as this was a couple of days ago and I have no idea what to do. I want to challenge her right now with a view to know what's been going on and then end everything. I would get on a plane and go back home. I'm so confused because my wife and I went for dinner last night, and it was just us, no kids. We had an amazing time and told each other how much we loved one another. This is true on my part even though I am so hurt. I don't know whether to wait until we get home, or just forget about it all and see what happens. I don't think I can move past this, especially as she was cheating on me throughout the pregnancy with our child. I do have doubts whether my daughter is mine, but I think she is. I am so lost, in so much pain and have so many questions. I love our life, I love our children. If I end things, all that will end and I will not be able to see my kids as much. It feels better to get this off my chest, so thank you and sorry for the splurge. Stories number 8. Aita for kicking out my husband after he went to go see and comfort his ex-girlfriend. I, 32F, and my husband, 38M, have been married for 3 years. Our relationship has had its ups and downs but we're a relatively happy couple. Though, in the beginning of our relationship, he was also dating Angela, 24F, 5 years ago. I was unaware of this other relationship but when I found out, I confronted him and he told me that since we weren't officially dating that he didn't know we were exclusive. I told him that if he didn't cut off this relationship with Angela, that I was going to break it off. We left it at that and we didn't talk for a while when he came to my apartment unexpectedly weeks later saying it was over with Angela and that he wanted to try again and asked me to be his girlfriend. Ever since then we have been a pretty normal couple. We have our moments but our relationship is going good and I believe he is my soul mate. Recently there's been an issue in our relationship though, Angela. 3 weeks ago, we were out running errands and went to a small boba shop that just opened up next to our local grocery store. As we were off to the side looking at the menu, from the corner of my eye, I see a woman that looks similar to Angela walk in. I do a double take and sure enough it's her. I feel an intense amount of dread and hope that hubby doesn't see her. As I'm internally panicking, I hear a woman's voice call for my husband. And as you might have guessed, it was Angela. My husband turns around and they have a small but awkward conversation. The whole time I just disassociate and stare off to the distance until she asks my husband, "Is that your wife?" To which he just nods and holds my hand. I pretty much just awkwardly smile and prayed this encounter would end the whole time. Eventually she gets in line and we wait behind her. I felt so embarrassed, I immediately got out drinks and leave. That was that, until 2 weeks ago when I saw my husband's phone light up to a Facebook Messenger notification. I asked him who it was from as he never uses Messenger. He said it was from an old friend. I asked who and he said I wouldn't know. I became suspicious but wasn't necessarily worried because I just assumed it was a friend. Until a few days later when he got another Facebook Messenger notification while I was ordering food off his phone. It was from Angela. I was shocked and confused. I went to their messages and everything seemed friendly and casual, though because of their history, I felt very uncomfortable with them talking. I went up to him and confronted him about the texts and asked why she was texting him. He told me that after running into her she friended him on Facebook and they began talking. He assured me it was all casual but I still told him I didn't want him talking to her. He assured me he would stop. I told him to unfriend her to which he hesitated to but eventually did. There was no issue or word from Angela until last night, to which from my knowledge she spammed messaged my husband, and even called him crying telling him that her mother was sick. I guess he knew her mother and felt sympathy towards her. Angela vented to him about how she had no one and she just needed someone to comfort her. She asked my husband if he could come and be there for her to which he said yes. I had no idea he was doing this until I saw him putting his shoes on near the door. I asked him where he was going and he told me the story of Angela's mom and that she needed someone to be with her. I told him to not go, and we had a small argument. He was rushing out the door, so I blocked him in and said that if he was going to go see and comfort his ex-girlfriend, that he wasn't allowed back in. He scoffed and pushed past me. I watched as he left. I went back inside, poured a few drinks while I tried my hardest to not cry and blow up his phone. Eventually, 3 hours passed and he came back home. I sat on the couch during this and as he came in I told him that he wasn't allowed to sleep here. He was shocked, and we got into another argument and to cut it short, he told me he had nowhere to go so I told him that maybe he should go to Angela as they seem to help each other a lot. he then left again and I haven't heard anything from him. I'm currently staying up and have had a few drinks. I decided to post this on Reddit as I feel like I might have overreacted and been in a holy. I just need advice on how to handle this whole situation as I'm barely able to process what to do. I'm sorry if this was long, I needed to vent. Edit. Hi everyone, goodness so many of you, thank you everyone for commenting and your support. I'm going to respond to some comments right now. Small update, I eventually went to sleep and sent a text that I was sick and wasn't coming into work today. It's currently 2 p.m. where I live and I've just been napping and kind of out of it. I haven't heard from him at all and he hasn't came back home. I'm kind of worried as I don't know where he's at, his location has been off since yesterday. I might send him a text later to make sure he's okay. I don't know if this is a good idea as I'm not in the best mindset right now and have been in zombie mode. As of now, I'm trying to process what even happened as it went by so fast. I'll keep you all updated if anything happens. Thank you all again. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, girl, he really pulled the "she has no one else" card like that's your problem. That's an ex, not a charity case. The fact that he hesitated to unfriend her in the first place was already suspect, but running to her the second she calls. In the middle of the night. Nah, you didn't overreact, you just set a boundary, and he sprinted right past it like it was the finish line of a marathon. Stay strong, because he's acting real comfortable disrespecting you. Reply, thank you for your reassurance. I want to confide in some friends and family but I feel like they'd make me feel invalidated. I do feel bad for the girl if her mother is sick, but I'm upset that my husband was willing to go. I don't know the full details of the situation with her, as my husband was rushing, so I don't know if she has friends or any other family but I assume she does, so I don't understand why she went to my husband for comfort. What does OOP know about Angela when she discovered the fact of her husband dating her at the time? Reply, I honestly did not know much about this girl, I only knew he was dating her because he got tagged on an Instagram post of them together 5 years ago. I went on her account and there was nothing about age. I didn't fully stalk her but I did do enough to see that they were dating and to remember her face. Eventually that's when the confrontation happened. I never asked about her and I tried my hardest to not go look at her account. I have self-esteem issues and I didn't want to compare myself. It wasn't until around when we were engaged, I decided to ask him about the whole Angela situation, and that's when I found out about her age. Supposedly the way they met was that she went to his job and strikes up a conversation with him. She asked to go on a date. She lied to him and said she worked at the company and said she was 23. They went on dates and after 2 months she confessed her real age and that she didn't actually work there. She was 19 turning 20 and that she had actually found him by going on apps like LinkedIn to find guys with higher paying jobs. Commenter 2, NTA. You married a good man, but he was playing both of you at the beginning. Not a good start. I would normally say you are being controlling but this is an EX, not just a female friend, so, no. She should be talking to family or an ex that isn't married. Reply, thank you, and possibly, I haven't thought much about our past as it's best to not think about things you can't go back and change but I'm slowly processing that might have been the case. I personally don't find myself too controlling. Some in the comments seem to think I am but this was at night and he was meeting her at her home. She's also an ex, and not just an ex but a girl he was with the same time I was with him. Update. Hi everyone, it's been 8 days since I posted my original post, and I finally have an update for you all. I'm sorry it took long but I've been sick. This is going to be long so I apologize as I have to address a few things. I want to first say thank you to those that gave helpful and supportive comments, and to those that said I drove my husband straight to another woman's arms or I was hostile and controlling. First, if my husband was willing to go to another woman when in an argument with his wife, then is he really my husband? I mean I have some standards to not marry an awful person. Second, to those that said I was controlling and hostile towards Angela, if you have a partner and are okay with them doing something like this then that's something within your boundaries, not mine. I don't like having contact with exes or having my husband be in contact with his exes. Finally, the age gap. I explained the story of how they met and such on a comment, but to sum it up, she had originally lied about her age. I didn't know her age or anything about her until I was engaged. Okay, on to what happened. He eventually came home later than day. I was watching TV on the couch when he walked in. We looked at each other and didn't say anything. He went to our room, took a shower and fell asleep. I was still upset with him so I avoided going to check up on him or even talk to him, so I waited in the living room kitchen until a few hours later when he woke up. I decided to make dinner. He came out, sat on the couch and we ate in silence before he asked if I wanted to talk. I said I did and he explained what happened. From what he told me, when we saw her at the boba shop, she had friended him on Facebook later that day. He didn't friend her back though and ignored it, and eventually a few days later she sent him a message request. This is when he handed me his phone to see the messages. To sum it up, she texted him a few times over a range of days without an answer, from pleasantries, updates about her life and finally a suicidal message. Now I don't know what is allowed to be said in this subreddit, but my husband did respond out of worry for another person, or so he claimed. They talked a lot about her addictions, self-harm and other very personal things relating to that. Through reading I did find out she had a boyfriend, and that he was actually 51 years old. My husband calmed her down and they stopped talking for a few days, when she reached out again and the same thing happened. This repeated again, where he wouldn't respond until she guilted him to. When I had found out and told him to block her, he actually didn't block her out of fear, but he didn't respond to her messages until that night. She actually sent very concerning messages beforehand and called him on Messenger. He answered and he said that she was wailing and screaming in pain. Now I don't want to say too much, but she had told him she attempted by taking a bunch of pills because of her mother, which is why he rushed to her. When he got there, he told me she was acting strangely and almost pretending to have done what she did. He tried to get her to the hospital, to which she refused. After pleading for a while, he was getting ready to call 911 when she confessed she didn't actually take any pills. He was confused and asked why she said she did. She couldn't give him a clear answer. My husband was going to leave when she begged him to let her explain again. She said her mom is the only person who cares about her, and that she needed somebody with her after she found out she was sick and that she had no one but my husband and my husband wouldn't come otherwise if it wasn't urgent. My husband wasn't buying it, so he asked if her mom was even sick, to which she denied it but seemed to be lying. My husband then left. He told me he just stayed in his car for a while before coming back home, and that's when the confrontation happened. He said he was very tired and felt horrible, so he wasn't in the right headspace to explain right then and there. He also told me he didn't go back to Angela's but instead just stayed in his car, got food and pretty much wandered town until he got home later that day. After this, I felt very overwhelmed. I usually like to take time to myself to process things before making a decision or response, so I told him I needed time. I didn't interact with him until the next morning and told him I needed more time before talking to him again and was going to stay with my parents for a few days. And now we're here. A few days actually turned into a week because as soon as I got here, I got sick. So I haven't felt good enough to even drive back home, much less process or think much. I secretly don't even know how or what to do, like how do we just go back to normal? I still feel betrayed, and even though he didn't cheat, I don't trust him, and I don't even know if he's telling the truth. I mean, divorce is extreme for something so minor, but I don't know. I have to go back home tomorrow as I feel a bit better and I can't hide out here forever and I have responsibilities, even though it's been a nice escape and being with my family has been great. I haven't talked much to my husband except through text, so tomorrow will be our first face-to-face conversation in a week. So that's the update. What actually reminded me to do this update was I got a random message request on Instagram a few hours ago from a burner account. It's a picture and I'm kind of scared to open it. I know it's probably a scam thing, but something in my gut is telling me it's connected to Angela and I don't know if I should open it. Update. So I opened the picture. It was a screenshot from what I assume is Angela's private story of her in lingerie with a caption that says, "She'll just have to taste me," when she's kissing him. TLDR, husband came back home, Angela faked suicide and her mom might not even be sick. I went to my parents' house, have been staying here for a week and haven't talked to husband, going back home tomorrow. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, well, the good news is that you're not the only one who's been feeling sick lately. The bad news is that it's not just physical, it's also emotional after reading this update. Hang in there, OP. Reply, yes, sadly, curse you germs. But I feel like emotionally, I've been struggling a lot as I don't really know what to do or how to process this. I want to go to my husband and ask for his help like always, but I know I can't. Especially if I can't even trust his word and I don't know if I'll even have my husband soon. I'm very lost. I'm dreading going back home and facing the music. Commenter 2, send him the picture and ask what that's all about. Reply, I saved the photo and I'm planning on doing so later tonight. I'm very anxious when it comes to this kind of stuff, so I'm trying to calm my nerves first. Commenter 3, he eventually came home later than day. I was watching TV on the couch when he walked in. We looked at each other and didn't say anything. He went to our room, took a shower and fell asleep. Is it normal for him to walk in the house and take a shower in the early afternoonish? A guess based on your timeline. Reply, no it isn't. He usually showers at night, but he hadn't the night prior, so I just assume he showered because of that. Stories number 9. My boss refused to call an ambulance for an injured coworker. I'm wondering if I could get your take on a situation that happened at the elementary school where I teach back in September. It's been a few months since it happened, but it's still on everyone's minds. On the first day of school, one of my fellow teachers tripped and fell backwards down the concrete steps leading up to the entrance of the school as she was arriving that morning. She split the back of her head open. As the school nurse was assessing the situation, our principal came running over and demanded that the injured teacher be helped to her feet and walked into the school so the parents and students wouldn't see her as they begin to arrive for school. The principal then told everyone who witnessed the incident that they were forbidden to call an ambulance because she did not want to create a scene and scare the kids or worry the parents. The injured teacher was kept in the principal's office with a wad of paper towels on her head for almost half an hour until most of the kids had been dropped off for the day and the buses had arrived. Then the nurse was finally allowed to call someone to take the teacher to the hospital, but it had to be a family member, not EMS. Several phone calls later, the nurse was finally able to get in touch with the teacher's sister-in-law, who came to pick her up and drive her to the hospital. All in all, it was over an hour between her injury and arriving at the hospital, which is ridiculous because the school is right up the street from the fire department, so an ambulance could have gotten there super quickly, and the hospital is only 10 to 15 minutes away, so she literally could have gotten to the hospital in under 20 minutes. It turns out, she had a concussion, no surprise there, and she needed 8 stitches in her head. To my knowledge, she did not lose consciousness, but she says she was in such a daze that she went along with what the principal decided instead of advocating for herself. I don't think she was able to really even speak. She missed a week and a half of work and had residual headaches for a month or so afterward. We were all flabbergasted that our principal chose to keep her hidden in an office with a head injury until the right time to get her to the hospital. The teacher probably should not have even been moved in the first place, and an injury to the head should be treated immediately regardless of the scene it might create. Our principal can also be very intimidating, and her decisions override the nurse's decisions. We're all very concerned that she chose to put the appearances of the school ahead of the safety of an injured teacher. I know what she was probably thinking: these parents won't leave me alone if they see an ambulance here, they'll think the school isn't safe for their children, etc. And I understand not wanting these helicopter parents breathing down your neck, but this teacher could have had a much worse spinal head injury than she did, and it shouldn't be up to the principal to decide when her staff warrants emergency medical care. We were all shaken after this incident, and worried that if someone else were to get injured in the future it would be handled in a similar way. Jokes have been made like, hey, be careful carrying that box of books, if you drop it on your foot you won't be allowed to use crutches because it might look bad to the parents, things like that. Some people say she just made a bad judgment call, probably due to first day of school anxiety, but I worry it speaks more to her priorities than anything. What do you think of this? Was there anything legally wrong with her actions? Allison's response. Some comments. Commenter 1, you need to get your union involved, immediately, so that they can escalate this to the superintendent and relevant elected officials. This principal lacks basic judgment of how to respond in an emergency, and that is extremely dangerous. Commenter 2, our school has a policy that if there is an emergency we are to notify our supervisors first, they will call emergency services. As I recall, we all laughed when the policy was announced. I can't see it ever being followed. Wannabe Disney princess, I'm sorry. I'm coming to from my rage blackout. Go to your union. Go to your superintendent. Possibly your school board. And if the principal doesn't want to cause a scene over a teacher, what happens if a child gets hurt? Commenter 3, I am concerned about the nurse's actions too. If the ambulance was medically necessary, the nurse should have exercised her professional judgment to call for it. I recommend inquiring about the nurse's actions too. Commenter 4, so obviously the principal made a terrible call, but did it ever occur to any of the teachers or other school workers to call anyway so that their fellow teacher didn't die? Head injuries are serious and you all have cell phones. It would have required a 30-second call to 911 and there would be no way to track who called. The principal is definitely at fault, but neither OP nor her colleagues behaved ethically in allowing their fellow teacher to bleed out of her head for an hour. Reply, hi, I'm the OP. Very few of us, myself included, were even aware of the incident until after the teacher had gone to the hospital. I couldn't have called because I didn't know about it until afterwards. Commenter 5, I suspect that if the teacher died the principal would have sent someone to the funeral to ask if she'd left behind any lesson plans. Reply, OP here. Same principal actually made a teacher who went into early labor at school continue a special ED meeting over the phone on her way to the hospital, so yeah, honey, your example was probably meant as hyperbole, but it's not too far off from reality. Update post. It's been a little over 2 years. Editor's note, OOP probably sent the letter in much earlier, but it was posted almost 3 years later, since I wrote to you about the principal at my school who kept a teacher with a head injury hidden in her office instead of calling 911. A lot has happened to the teacher, the principal, and myself since then, so I figured I'd update you on everything. Apologies that it's a bit long. First, the update about the injured teacher. To my knowledge, she never got the union involved, despite what everybody recommended. At the end of the school year, she was transferred to a different school within the same district. Often the principal at my school would strongly push for a teacher or staff member to be moved as a way of punishing them, but usually the person being moved was relieved and it was much more a reward than a punishment. The teacher is much happier at the new school than she was before. Some in the comments were saying that someone should have gone over the principal's head and called 911 when the teacher fell, but most of us didn't even know about the incident until later that day. We were all involved in other first day of school activities, so the principal was successful in hiding the incident from most of us initially. One of the few people who knew right away what happened was the school nurse, whom the principal bullied into silence in the moment. I'm not justifying her decision not to call 911, but the principal has a way of making your life miserable if you don't do exactly what she wants, and few people have ever stood up to her. It was a very oppressive environment to work in. Which brings me to my personal update. Shortly after my letter was printed, I had my own run-in with the principal, and I'm so glad I received so much great advice about bringing problems to the union because I ended up needing to do so myself. I'm still fairly early in my career, and although I knew the purpose of the union, I felt that bringing an issue to the union meant I couldn't handle it on my own. But things came to a head and I saw how important my union was when my husband's company asked him to relocate to a different part of our state. We were excited because the area we would be moving to is beautiful, less congested, and the cost of living is a bit lower, so we had been thinking about moving there anyway. For a little personal background, I am a certified teacher in my state, but at the time my position was not one that required a teaching certificate. I was a classroom aide support person in another teacher's class. I was hoping to eventually get a full-time teaching position, but I began as an aide, as some teachers do. In my state, full-time classroom teaching positions require 30 days notice when resigning because the process to hire a replacement takes a long time. Teachers who leave positions with less than 30 days notice can literally have a permanent mark on their state teaching certificate that will follow them anywhere else in the state they apply to teach, and it can stop them from getting jobs in a decent school, so it's a big deal. However, although I am a certified teacher, the aide position I was holding at the time did not require the extended 30 days notice period, only the standard 2 weeks. When I brought my official resignation to the principal, she erroneously replied that even though my position doesn't require 30 days notice, because I'm a certified teacher, she was going to hold me to the 30-day notice period. She informed me that she would not release me from my job until X date, which was 30 days from the day of my resignation. Basically, she was holding me to a higher standard than my position required because I was certified beyond what my position required. She concluded the meeting by threatening to report me to the state if I didn't comply with her made-up rules. I smiled politely and immediately left her office to call my union rep, who shared my anger at the situation. Within a few days, the principal was contacted by our union lawyer, who informed her that she cannot enforce the 30-day notice period on me. The principal insisted it was within her rights to require whatever resignation period of her employees she sees fit. So my union lawyer had to go above her head to the superintendent of the school district. The lawyer called the superintendent and basically said, "I'm calling to inform you that one of your principals is attempting to block an employee in her school from resigning in a timely manner, and that the union will have to escalate the matter if it is not dealt with properly by higher administration." The superintendent was not happy about this. He called me personally to confirm that my last day would be the date in my resignation letter, not the date the principal was insisting on, and he wished me the best. I heard from others that he then chewed the principal out and she basically ignored me the rest of my notice period, which was fine with me. As long as I didn't hear anything more from her about my incorrect leave date, I was happy. I'm glad I didn't let her bully me into staying longer than I needed to because my husband and I were eager to make a fresh start in our new home. The only thing that worried me was if I ever needed to use that principal as a reference, because she's definitely the type to hold a grudge. But that resolved itself a couple months later as well, because she retired at the end of the school year. I'm given to understand that the superintendent wasn't a huge fan of her and was encouraging her to retire. My former co-workers report that the new school principal is much more pleasant to work with, so I can truthfully say that I have no way to get in touch with her for a reference if I'm asked in the future, but I can certainly still use some of the other teachers I worked closely with during my time at that school, and I know they'll give me excellent references. I'm so glad I wrote into AAM because the advice I received about someone else's situation ended up being invaluable in my own situation. Thanks for reading my long update, and I hope all the readers are hanging in there. Stories number 10. Aita for not letting my in-laws use my son's SSN to continue getting food from food banks. Update below: my husband, 30M, and I, 31F, recently received a phone call from my father-in-law, 54M. Apparently for some time they have been going to food banks to help out since my mother-in-law, 53F, won't work since getting diagnosed with COPD. They have been telling the food banks that they have been taking care of their grandson, my son. The food bank has allowed giving them food but just recently asked them for my son's SSN so that they can continue getting food from them. My in-laws have not been taking care of my son because we live over 500 miles away from them. We were shocked by them asking for our son's SSN because obviously the answer is no. My husband texted them back telling them no, it's not gonna happen, and they have yet to even respond. Am I the asshole for wanting to take this further and report them to this food bank for fraud and identity theft? Update: we have found the food bank and they do not take SSN, so we have locked and checked everything to make sure our son's identity is safe and ours as well. No SSN was given to them because we know better than to jeopardize our identity and our son's identity. We are going to confront them about what we have found and see if they will give us the truth so we can see where we need to go from here. Thank you all for your advice, even the negative feedback. It has helped us find a conclusion to this crazy mess. Stories number 11. A big scam company just stole my whole game from Steam, ripped it and sold it as their own on PlayStation and other consoles. Hope everyone is doing well. I posted this also on our PS5 and Twitter to hopefully bring more light to the situation. So recently I have released the Backrooms 1998 on PlayStation, Xbox, Steam and Nintendo Switch. I was pretty happy with myself and all that, you know. Been in development for quite a while, and being a solo developer and having my game finally on consoles is always awesome to see. Anyway, someone commented on one of my videos and violently, big thanks to him, asked me why am I releasing the same game with its name changed on consoles, and I got a little bit confused. I explained that this game was never on consoles before and I have just released it now, and they provided a link to a video, and behold, long story short, this company called Cool DVS SRL stole my whole game, ripped it, pasted some bad AI crap on it as a cover, literally made a bad version of it and just published it on consoles and sold it to trick players into buying it. They stole the whole game as it is alongside the music, sounds, voice lines and everything else. They only changed the monster and the picture on the frame, lol. Edit, doing further research, and it seems they have also a couple of posts here and are known in the PS5 community. One mentioned is the company that actually approached me. I think they are all basically the same one, but I am not going to point any fingers. Edit 2, thank you all for your kind comments, help and everything else. I am currently still seeing what can be done and in contact with my video game lawyer, so I will try to keep you updated. We have already submitted a DMCA and working with my publisher on this one, and for now the game is taken down from PlayStation and Xbox, but it's still up on Nintendo Switch. In the meantime, if you can report the fake game, that would be awesome. If you bought it by mistake, please see if you can refund it. If you can share this, that would be awesome as well, so more people will know about this and not get tricked. I will try my best in posting this to other subreddits to make more people aware. From what I uncovered, this is a whole big scam where they open a bunch of companies, mostly around the SRL, and upload fake games, scam games in order to trick buyers to buy them. Heck, I don't even want the money they stole, I just want them to refund them back to the buyers if we can somehow catch them. This ain't right, and I think more people needs to be aware of this. It seems they have additional companies, 4, 5 or maybe even 6+, that are maybe tied to this scam. This is not fair on developers and not fair on the players. I still can't believe that someone as big as Sony, Xbox and Nintendo are letting this slide. It's sad. The funny thing is, I saw this game before on the store and I literally spoke about how these scam devs are mostly stealing popular games on Steam and uploading them consoles, and I had no idea it was one of my own game that they stole. I do not understand how consoles platforms allow these type of scams going on and rub it under the carpet. This is hurtful to smaller indie developers, and hurtful to players that get scammed by buying these games thinking they are real games. Also, they are doing this with other games. We have already working on finding out more info about them, and submitted a DMCA request to remove the game off the stores. Right now it's down from PlayStation and Xbox but still up on the Nintendo store, unfortunately. Hopefully they will also remove it soon as well. Another important detail that may have ties or not, I got contacted last year by a very sketchy publisher wanting to publish my game on consoles. I declined. They were sketchy, and after checking their games they had very similar games to this fake company. They are both registered in SRL and they got banned from consoles recently. Could this be the same guys? Stole the game right after I refused to publish it with them. Not sure, but hopefully we can find out. Update. Hello everyone, hope you are fine. Last week I made the post here about how this called Cool DVS SRL company stole my whole game called the Backrooms 1998, ripped it and changed the name to Backrooms Horror Escape and sold it under their own on PlayStation, Xbox and Nintendo. While PS and Xbox removed the game almost instantly, Nintendo did not seem to want to. I just wanted to put out an update here and on Twitter as well on it. If it's not allowed, feel free to delete this post, but I am happy to say it have been now taken off all consoles including Nintendo. I appreciated all your comments. A lot of people messaged me and I uncovered a few things as well about them. If it weren't for you guys, then the game might still be up there. I just really appreciate it. We basically received an email from Cool DVSSRL saying that they made a mistake, apologized and said it won't happen again. Yeah, they slipped, stole the source, uploaded a whole copyrighted game, passed QA on consoles, added trophies to it all by mistake. That being said, Nintendo got back to us later saying they've resolved it. Very strange, since it seems that it was Cool DVSSRL that they put it down themselves. Anyway, I am just glad and grateful that my stolen game is no longer being sold on consoles, but at the same time it seems these things will keep happening. I hope to see better improvements on the storefronts, especially on Nintendo and PlayStation. Maybe a better refund system and a better reporting system would benefit buyers a lot in these situations. The fact that buyers don't have a clear, easy way to refund games is dumb. That is one of the reasons these fake companies keep getting away with it. Their page is still live on Nintendo and they are still selling there. From what I can see though, they have been banned and removed from PlayStation, so that's a good thing at the very least. However, they have also multiple developer accounts as well, so I just want everyone aware, so I will say it again. For players, be careful and double check the games before you purchase. Check their developer accounts as well and always be cautious. If you suspect the game is one of those fake games, then see if you can request a refund. For developers, thanks to the community, from what I learned, it's best to use IL2CPP in your code. Apparently this will make it harder for these scammers to decompile your code. The way they stole my game is by using a program and decompiled it, so they got all my assets, music, sounds, voiceovers, etc. Thank you everyone, and if you like, feel free to grab a free copy of the Steam code that I posted on my Twitter as a thank you, or just send me a message. Thank you to all the communities, and thank you Reddit. You are all amazing people. Also just posted some free codes for PS5, PS4 for the game as a token of appreciation for this sub. Feel free to redeem one here. Editor's note, this is a Twitter link, and I prefer not to link to Twitter, in the replies, and let me know what the code you redeemed was. Thank you everyone really. Comments. Commenter 1, have you spoken to legal representation about suing these people? I did look into it and unfortunately for the time being, there isn't much that can be done as I was advised. I am still looking at options to be honest, but from what I was told, taking them to court would be very costly and time consuming. Also, the main issue is that many of these companies are shell entities with multiple accounts based in Moldova and Romania, making it incredibly difficult too. Even if it takes years and I win the case, they would likely declare bankruptcy and move on to their next scheme, leaving me with basically nothing. At least that is what I was told. Commenter 2, how did they get the source code? And, what is IL2CPP? They apparently used a program to decompile the whole game source code from the game build on Steam. IL2CPP is basically a scripting backend, and from what I learned in these couple of days, it makes decompilation harder to steal for these scammers, because it automatically convert all C# code into C++. So if they decompile the source, then they would have to do the scripting on their end, and they probably would not do that since they are only interested in stealing it. Stories number 12. Aita for ordering only me and my daughter food after my girlfriend threw away my cooking. Last night I decided to make my girlfriend dinner. I'm not a good cook at all, I kinda suck. But I spent a while trying to make everything nice. The ingredients were kinda expensive, the actual baking of everything took almost the whole day. But by the time my girlfriend came home from work, everything was prepared. When she saw the table set and stuff, she was pleasantly surprised, and after she changed she sat down right away. When she first took a bite of the food however, she had this bad look on her face. I asked her what was wrong, and she said that it was too salty. I said sorry, but she continued to eat still. The more she ate though, the more she started making worse and worse faces. I told her she didn't need to eat anymore, but she insisted she did. But after she said that, and took one more bite, she spit it out onto the plate. I asked if she was okay, and she said she was fine, but that the food was terrible. She then proceeded to grab her plate and throw it in the trash. But then, she also threw out the entire dish as well, so there wasn't any more food for anyone. I told her that I was still going to eat it, but she said that she could make something better. When I said that she still wasted food, we got into an argument about everything. It ended with her saying that she would be able to get herself something better. My girlfriend then said she was going to go out for a bit, and for me to watch our kid. Given that time, I decided to just order food for just the two of us. It was fast food, but I was hungry, and our daughter hadn't gotten the chance to eat something yet. I didn't order much, but again it was just so I could be full. The food arrived, and when I was cutting up the food so our baby could eat it, my girlfriend returned. When she saw that I had ordered food, she was pissed. She asked where her food was, but I told her she never asked and that I thought she went out to go out. She told me that I still should have gotten her food, or called her telling her I was ordering. We got into another argument, until she left the house again, this time to go with her friend to go and eat. Since then we haven't talked much. It's like that often now, between me and my girlfriend. But this time, I just feel so, frustrated. She didn't say, but was my cooking that bad? If it was, she didn't need to just toss it all out. However, I regret not ordering my girlfriend food, and it just made the whole situation worse. If I did, we would probably be on better terms right now. Stories number 13. GF, 18F, wants an open relationship. Me and my girlfriend, 18, recently had an argument about opening our relationship, and at first, it was a nice talk. We talked about the pros and cons, and then the tide shifted. We talked about how it would affect our life and what would happen if she got pregnant or if I got someone else pregnant. And then she told me she only wanted an open relationship with one other person, so that we would only see one other person each, and reluctantly, I asked if she had someone in mind. She told me she was thinking about someone, which made her ask the question. When I tried questioning further, she shut me out. We went to bed that night a little distant. The next morning, she asked if we could resume our previous conversation. I agreed, and then I brought up the fact that she never answered my question about who she had in mind. She told me it wasn't my business, and I left it at that. About 5 to 10 minutes later, she told me the person she had in mind was her ex-boyfriend. I asked her is that why she wanted an open relationship. Just so she can see her ex without feeling guilty. I kicked her out after she told me she was tired of hiding the fact that she was already seeing him. She is now pissed. My mom told me it was the right thing to do. But I feel like I should have talked it out. Did I overreact? Stories number 14. Office parking war. Throwaway because my brother thinks I'm an asshole and I don't need him chiming in. I'm not asking if I am. I 25F work in an office. The front of the office is for client parking only, so it doesn't overcrowd. The back of the office has our employee parking. The front of the office has 3 handicap parking spots, and the back has none. It meets whatever requirements it has to. Technically, I lost both of my legs from the knees down in a terrible accident as a teen. I had to relearn to walk, have constant pain, and can't go for long distances. Carrying anything heavy is also a big challenge. I've made it work with my prosthetics and the occasional use of a wheelchair if my stumps really ache. All that said, I never wear skirts or shorts. I don't like the stares, the questions or the unsolicited advice. When I started working my job, I asked if I would be parking out front, but my office just gave me a reserved parking spot next to the back door instead. They even hung a little sign that marks it as reserved. I suggested to management they put a handicap or 2 parking spots in the back after working there for a while, but they declined as there wasn't a need for it because I had my reserved spot. I figured they would reserve another spot to anyone else who would need it since they had a temporary reservation area for any of the pregnant coworkers. Last week was a bad week as one of my legs had splintered. It's the best word I have to describe it, after a bit of a fumble on my part. So I had not choice but to use the wheelchair until I could get my replacement. Since I dislike being legless as it makes me very self-conscious, I still wore it. I pulled into the back parking to see my spot taken up by a pretty little car. I'm a sucker for green. The other front parking was also taken, so all that was left was the parking in the way back. I just turned around, pulled the front client parking area and parked. I hung up my placard and went inside. I immediately found my boss and explained about my leg, the parking, and what I had done. He wasn't pleased someone took my spot and told me to just get working and he would look into it. Sometime around lunch, he found me and explained it was the boss's kid. She had started working here and didn't know about the parking. He said she wouldn't be parked there again tomorrow. Cool. Just a newbie and a mix-up. Next day rolls around and that pretty little car is back where it doesn't belong. I do the same as the day before and my boss looks frustrated. He heads off to have a chat. At some point my boss comes back to me with a stack of paperwork. He told me that the new girl was kicking up a fuss about the parking spot and trying to threaten him because, you know who my dad is, right? So he is done with it all. Instead of taking it up the ladder and fighting against her to get the boss man to see reason, he is putting into HR about the lack of handicap parking in the back. From the time I started working here till now, we have changed hands inside of HR and our accessibility department, and he knows there are a few of them that are very accommodating. I filled out the paperwork and he took it off. The rest of last week I had to park in the front and everyone was getting annoyed with it for one reason or another, special treatment for me or anger at the new girl for kicking out someone who actually needed the parking spot. A lot of people had started giving her a cold treatment and she couldn't understand why. More people have been checking on me and offering to help carry things. She has seen that and thinks I'm not pretty enough for that kind of attention and that I'm unprofessional. This morning I checked the back again and her little car was all the way in the back. In my old reserved spot is now a bright and shiny handicap sign. I rolled in to hear her complaining loudly to the front-end staff and demanding they set a time for her to meet with Daddy today because she can't be bothered to walk across a parking lot on perfectly healthy legs, judging by her skirt and heels. I would trade our legs in an instant so she could keep the damn parking spot. Sorry, guess I needed to vent a little. And I'm worried what she might say to her daddy, and how it will affect me. Top comments. Commenter 1. Too bad your brother is such a jackass that you had to use a throwaway to write this. Your company doesn't sound much better than your brother. I think it's time to move on from both. Good luck. Commenter 2. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't businesses required to have at least one handicapped spot? Anyways, fuck your brother for saying you're the asshole. If anyone is, it's the boss's kid and your brother. Commenter 3. The last time I checked you needed one ADA spot for every 25 parking spots. So if you have 100 spots, 4 must be ADA. If you have 76 spots, 4 must be ADA. Update. I appreciated the kind words to my annoying little rant yesterday. My brother can be pretty hard to deal with as he has a very difficult time understanding others. Maybe he didn't get enough hugs as a kid, who knows. I know not a lot of people are looking for an update, but it felt nice to have a few people on my side. That said, nothing really happened yesterday. It wasn't until I was home from work that things started to pick up. My boss called after hours, he never does this, and strongly suggested I wear a skirt to work tomorrow and then leave early for an appointment, with time off that he had approved of. When pressed, he said he really couldn't go into details because my reactions would tell a lot. I asked if there was any way to get out of wearing the skirt and he suggested to bring a blanket to drape over my legs. My boss has never asked me for anything like this before, but I had the feeling this was to drive home a point. So, against my own feelings, I wore the skirt and went into work today. I wore the blanket over my legs into my office and worked until I was called in for a surprise meeting between me, my boss, the owner, and HR. My boss gave me a pointed look at my legs before we entered the meeting, so I put the blanket on the back of my wheelchair. The owner looked absolutely annoyed to be there, borderline angry, and stood up to say something but seemed to freeze and I could hear his teeth click as he shut his mouth. He went to go stare out the window as we, HR, my boss, and me, discussed his, the owner's, daughter's actions and words. Apparently a few people had put in complaints about her for me. The owner asked one question the entire time: how long have you been, well, when did you lose your legs? I answered and offered up proof, but my boss said it was already on file for my accommodations and can be checked there. The owner stormed out after that. HR thanked me for my time and sent me back to my office. By noon, I was leaving and the owner's daughter was packing up her space, crying while her father stood over her with the darkest expression I had ever seen on him. He frustrates easily but hardly ever yells. I can count on one hand how many times he has yelled. He was shouting her down the entire time she packed. I just rolled by as quietly as I could because I didn't want sucked in. My boss texted that the owner has approved me to work from home, as needed, and I will be getting a pay raise outside of the usual annual raise bonuses. He also said that the owner will be making his daughter apologize. This turned out better than I had thought it would. Thank you everyone for listening. Stories number 15. Turned down a girl over her physique. I've known this girl for the past 7 years at my job. For a while I've been told she's into me, but I am definitely not into her. For some background, I am quite active, no kids, and push myself to look decent and take care of myself. She is pretty lazy, obesely overweight, and just last year decided she wanted a baby, which she lost 2 of them with some random gang banging looking guy and then dumped his ass once she got the kid. Now for some reason she's set her eyes on me again and I'm not biting. One of her friends wouldn't stop bugging that she liked me and wanted to know why. I finally got annoyed and said I don't date girls like her because of her weight and careless pregnancy. I don't believe in having children unless you're married, and I believe you should put some effort into yourself and looks. I always was vague with her because I didn't want to be the asshole, but caught me on the wrong day and wanted her to stop. Aita. Stories number 16. Aita for not letting my pregnant sister sleep in my bed. I, 26M, rent a small 2-bedroom apartment. I live alone, but I use the second bedroom as my office because I work from home full-time. My older sister, Lily, 31F, is 6 months pregnant and soon to be single mother. She has some issues with her apartment, in a disagreement with her landlord, and in the process of moving out, so she asked if she could stay with me for a few weeks. Of course, I said yes and that I would be happy to accommodate her for as long as she needs. She moved in last weekend, and the first thing she did when settling in was pointing towards my bed and saying, "I'll take this one." I laughed, thinking she was joking. Only later in the evening when I asked her if she needs anything else before going to bed did she mention that she was not joking about wanting to sleep in my bed. Now I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, and I am quite uncomfortable with the idea of other people sleeping in my bed. I told her that I am uncomfortable letting anyone else sleep in my bed. But I will gladly set her up with my guest bed, which I did use to sleep on before buying my current bed, and I know for a fact is very comfortable and spacious. Then, she started guilt-tripping me saying that since she got pregnant she's having problems falling asleep and that she needs the bigger more comfortable bed. I stood my ground and told her I was happy to accommodate her, but I wasn't giving up my bedroom. She sulked, but she took the guest bed. That lasted exactly 2 nights before she started complaining that the bed was too stiff and that she couldn't sleep. I offered to buy a new mattress topper, but she refused. Instead, she tried to pull the "you're my brother, you should want to make me comfortable" guilt trip again. I told her that she is lucky I can even take her in, since I work 10 hours a day from home and I do value having a work environment that's private, calm and quiet. She called me selfish and accused me of not caring about her or her baby. I told her she could take the couch if the guest bed was that unbearable. Well, she did, but exactly for 1 night before turning into an absolute menace. In the second night on the couch, she made sure to sigh loudly all night, accidentally bump into things, and complain the next morning about how horrible I was making her feel. The following day, she kept making calls and talking loudly on the phone while I was working. I didn't pay attention to the actual calls and what she was saying, but later it became very clear. In the evening I started getting phone calls from most if not all of my family members. Apparently, she was ranting all day on the phone to my family about how rude and how horrible I was making her feel, trying to make my family put pressure on me just to let her sleep in my bed. Like she's on a mission or something. My mom took her side and tore me a new one on the phone saying that Lily is carrying a child and I'm being inconsiderate. She also said, "I thought I taught you better hospitality than this, I am very disappointed." My aunt called to tell me that my uncle, her husband, used to sleep on the couch and sometimes on the floor next to her when she was pregnant. Even my cousin, who I haven't spoken to in like 2 years, called to tell me I'm being selfish. My father is taking my side telling me to ignore them and that my sister is a fuck up that she got in that situation in the first place, but I feel like my mom is giving him a super hard time in the background because he did sound kind of hesitant when I asked him to have my back. Honestly, I'm just feeling like I'm in the middle of a soap opera drama. My mom is threatening to come take Lily home, yeah, like that's much of a threat, huh? But she's giving me such a hard time and telling me I disappointed her and that she raised me better. I don't know how to feel about this anymore. Aita for not letting my pregnant sister sleep in my bed. Stories number 17. My husband spent $10,000 on Pokemon slabs without telling me, forgot my birthday, and we are struggling financially. Am I overreacting for wanting a divorce? I just found out that my husband spent $10,000 on Pokemon slabs that he said were for Christmas and my birthday. I'm physically shaking. I had no idea he was spending that much. I assumed maybe $500 to $1,000 at most. When I checked our bank account and credit reports, I was shocked. 11 years together. I called him, and he admitted to spending $10,000. The worst part is that these were not even cards I wanted or collections I am into. It was a nice thought, but I was not thrilled by them. To top it off, he completely forgot my birthday on the actual day. He did not say anything until halfway through the day, did not get me a card, flowers, coffee, or anything at all. Even when I suggested we celebrate over the weekend, he made no effort. Financially, we are struggling. Our mortgage is $10,000 this month because of property taxes and home insurance. Our house is on the market, but it is not selling because of the high price tag. It's already marked at the lowest we can go with no profit. We had just paid off all of his credit cards in December, bringing them down to 9% utilization so we could focus on paying off mine. My credit card debt is from necessary home repairs like replacing an electrical panel to prevent a fire, and I had been putting groceries on there to protect our cash for mortgage payments, not random purchases. At this point, I blocked his number and told him I want a divorce. He has always had a problem with saving money, and I feel completely disrespected and steamrolled, especially given our financial situation. Am I overreacting? I just need advice or a gut check because I feel like I have reached my breaking point. Comments. Commenter 1. I wouldn't call this an overreaction. That was an incredibly selfish, incredibly idiotic thing for him to do. Commenter 2. OP, guy here. GTFO. Your husband is a financial Titanic. Immediately, privately confer with a seasoned family law attorney to discuss your entitlements and alternatives regarding divorce. Document his financial misconduct. Seek that amount from his share of the marital assets. Commenter 3. Sell the cards, stop waffling. Sell all any cards. Collectibles are for those who can afford it, you too are not ready. Update. I want to start by apologizing to the community for deleting my original post. I'm sorry my edits and updates didn't save under the moderator's post. Seeing people claim it was fake was too much to bear at the time because this situation is very real to me. There was a lot of victim blaming, and that felt unfair. Please remember to be kind to those who post vulnerable experiences while seeking help during dark times. What is a Pokemon slab? See the photo above. A Pokemon slab refers to a plastic case, often called a slab in the collecting world, that encapsulates a graded Pokemon card, protecting it from damage while also displaying its condition and value, typically provided by a third-party card grading company like PSA, Beckett, or CGC. Essentially, it's permanently sealed container that holds a professionally assessed Pokemon card, like an engagement ring appraisal. Now for the update. I am safe. I have contacted a lawyer. No matter what happens, I will continue protecting myself and making better decisions going forward. I also took screenshots and went through his phone completely. While we have no children together, we do have a decade and a lot of love for one another. He was surprisingly open to giving up control and acknowledged his addiction. He admitted he always knew it was something, but as each new hobby came along, they became more and more expensive. He was not angry when I confronted him, but he did break down in tears. We talked, and while I want to keep identifying details private, I can say that he is getting help, and I now have full financial control. He attended a meeting for Shoppers Anonymous, and we believe he has compulsive spending disorder. Thanks to this community, I realized how serious collector addiction can be. I would not have gone to a lawyer or even known where to start if it weren't for the advice I received here. Reddit is honest and they know what's up, that's why I came here for help. Addiction is a long, difficult journey, and I will hold myself accountable to ensure I don't ignore red flags. Where we stand now, he has agreed to all my terms. I have full financial control. We will sell the cards. He is working to sell other items from past hobbies. We will have weekly financial meetings. He will go to individual therapy and meetings. We will go back to marriage counseling. After reviewing the finances, it was actually $7,000 spent on cards, not $10,000. The other $3,000 were smaller charges like work lunches and Starbucks. That still adds up. We are working on selling the cards. Other important changes. He has promised to be a better husband and stop acting like a child. He recognizes his behavior. He has also acknowledged that his selfishness has affected others' areas of our life like in our support system, and he is working to change that. We both understand that this is a lifelong addiction that will require daily effort. We have to make that choice individually of how we want to proceed. I know it's easy to say, just leave him. But marriage is not that simple. Sometimes one partner is at 10% while the other is at 90%. Right now, he is at 10%. 2 years ago, I was the one at 10%, and he stuck by me. He gave me the chance to change, and I did. Now it is my turn to offer him the same opportunity. I will not give him a second chance beyond this, but I believe everyone deserves at least one. I'm not sure if I will post another update, but if you are struggling, know that this community tells it like it is, but it also offers great support and resources. I wish the best for anyone going through hard times. Please remember to be kind to each other. Slab. Comments. Commenter 1. I hope it works out and he gets the help he needs. Commenter 2. I didn't see the original post but appreciate the update. As you said, marriage is a partnership where you see each other through ups and downs and not everything is a leave him situation. It's good he acknowledged his problem. Honestly, the saddest part of your update is that $3,000 of the amount spent was on dumb things like Starbucks. At least with the slabs, you can sell them and hopefully recoup a good portion of your losses. It's a lesson to all of us in how the little things really add up. Good luck, OP. Reply, I know. That $3,000 actually hit him harder. Thanks for your kind words, getting torn apart here. Can't make people understand my perspective though. Commenter 3. Why don't you post the slabs for sale on Reddit? I am a buyer if the price is right, and I might be interested to have a slab connected with a Reddit drama story. Assuming they are PSA 10s is all I'd typically be interested in and hopefully so considering the amount. I'd also like to share one thing. I'm a gambler and have made bad decisions on occasion. I definitely have an addiction, but I keep it under control. I have never, in my life, spent outside of my means. I think about it often, used to be 24/7, but now it's down to maybe a few times per day, and I go find a way to scratch the itch in a controlled fashion. I buy poke slabs in sessions, if at all, and usually with bonus money. When I go to a poker table, I have agreed with myself that the absolute maximum I can lose is $400. If I lose the $400 in a session, that is it, I'm cooked. I say, I had a good time, and go home. I have a lot more disposable income than that, but will never do so. And if I do take that loss, I consider myself cooked for a month or so. I even make myself eat less, treat myself to less spoils than I would normally as a punishment for losing that money. It makes me feel like I've earned the right to go do it again once I feel like I've potentially saved the $400 back in other ways. Stocks, I do high volatility trading only. I'll put $1,000 every few months. If I lose it, no big deal, but I'll usually swing up before swinging down, and have made some long-term large gains doing that. So, having an addiction and self-control are two different things. Reply, someone messaged me a group, so I'm looking into it. They are not all tens or all PSA, unfortunately. Stories number 18. Aita for telling my parents I'm allowed to resent the times they dragged me to another state to do nothing so my stepsiblings could see their family. When I, 17F, was 5, my mom married my stepdad. My stepdad's first wife died a few years before that, and my stepsiblings 8, 10, and 11 back when my mom and stepdad got married. For the first year they'd go to their maternal grandparents 2 or 3 times a year for a week and longer in the summer. But then after the first year my stepdad didn't want them to go alone, so my parents made the decision that we'd take a road trip and stay for as long as my stepsiblings were visiting with their family. They'd stay with their grandparents whenever they visited but saw a bunch of family. My mom, stepdad, and I would stay in these really cheap tiny places, and we did nothing. Except my stepdad, who'd go to someplace with Wi-Fi and work from his laptop. But that was it. The few times we'd see my stepsiblings while we were there, it was obvious they were being spoiled. The thing that bothers me the most now that I'm older is that we didn't see them much. And they didn't stay in the same place as us, so all it did was rub it in that they had this family who loved them and spoiled them, and they got to have so much fun, and I was bored out of my mind and left waiting to drive back with them. I did get jealous. It wasn't so bad at first. I'd be a little jealous when they left and came back with stuff, or when they got all these extra birthday and Christmas gifts, but it wasn't all that extreme. But I got really resentful after a few years of staying in shitty places and doing nothing for weeks at a time while my stepsiblings had a blast. My stepdad asked a few times if I could be included in places they'd visit, and my stepsiblings' grandparents always said no. My stepdad didn't even ask privately. I'd hear him ask and hear the no. So it sucked even more, and I was embarrassed and hurt for a while. Then it got more awkward when my stepdad would join for a barbecue or lunch at the steps' grandparents' house. We'd all go, and my stepdad's relationship with his first wife's family was weird, and those people couldn't have been more obvious that they didn't want us there. I was left watching kids play together while I was ignored except for my mom and stepdad. My mom made excuses about why we did it, and she'd tell me it wouldn't last forever. When I got older, I pushed back on the weeks of my life spent like that while my stepsiblings got to have fun. My mom claimed the reverse was true, but she could never say when. I had no extended family. My dad bailed the second he found out mom was pregnant with me, and his family didn't want to get to know me either. We weren't wealthy, so I didn't do summer camps or extracurriculars. Maybe we could have afforded it if we weren't spending money on places to stay when my stepsiblings went to their family. I'd hoped the end would come when my stepsiblings move out, but the year after the youngest one left we still followed them out. This is only the second year we haven't done it. But my parents talk like they want to do it again, and the other day when they were talking about it I blew up and said I won't go with them again. We argued and they told me the resentment was unfair and I needed to let it go. That I don't have a good reason to resent them. I told them I'm allowed to resent them after they dragged me to another state in shitholes where I got to do nothing for weeks at a time. I told them they had no idea what that's like for a kid to go where they're not wanted and sit doing nothing while all the other kids get to have fun. My parents told me we do things for family sometimes. I said that was bullshit. Stories number 19. How to keep the tweakers from jacking all your high-speed data, lol. I gave my hotspot password to a friend because she was struggling financially and basically homeless at the time. No big deal, happy to help. What I wasn't happy about. She handed that password out like it was a free sample at Costco. Next thing I knew, my backyard turned into a full-time lounge for her and all her friends, most of whom were very enthusiastic about, let's say, alternative pharmaceuticals. Now, I don't judge. I've been homeless. I've been on drugs. But you know what I have never been? Okay with losing my high-speed data. That was the real crime here. These people were out there at 2 a.m., streaming who knows what, and I was stuck with internet speeds that made dial-up look like NASA technology. So, I did what any rational, data-loving person would do. I changed my hotspot name from iPhone to FBI DEA surveillance and changed the password. And voila! Just like that, my backyard went from a 24/7 internet cafe to a peaceful, empty space once more. Stories number 20. In 5 days I'm coming clean, and it will probably end my marriage. I've been married to my husband for nearly 17 years, together for 20. I knew that prior to our relationship he struggled with money issues, and it is a huge trigger for him. So what did I manage to do? Take over the bills a couple years ago and completely fucked it up. Credit card debt, juggling zero interest cards, all that jazz. My credit has been on a slow and steady decline. I've been trying to keep things out of his name so his credit is okay. I have so much guilt and shame. I was so stupid to let it happen. I used shopping, expensive hobbies, and poor financial habits as a way to cover up my anxiety and depression. I lost my mom, we've had a lot of medical debt, travel for my mom and medical reasons, etc. None of those things are excuses for lying to him though. I am so overwhelmed and guilty. He has no idea. On Friday we are going to sit down to review finances while our kids are at school and I am going to come clean. I have no idea how he is going to react. It might be bad, high divorce, but even best case scenario he is never going to trust me again. And I don't deserve his trust. He didn't deserve any of this. I have totally betrayed his trust and it keeps me up at night. Part of me is ready to come clean and be honest. The other, cowardly part of me wants to keep up the charade. I'm finally going to be brave and be honest. I feel sick. Comments. Commenter 1. The slow crawl into crippling debt is easier to do than some people realize. Corporations restructure and file bankruptcy all the time, there's no shame in it, just learn from it. You can file bankruptcy just for yourself, and if the majority if not all the debt is in your name, it won't affect your spouse. I'd suggest coming clean after speaking with a bankruptcy attorney, there's a way out of this and only you have to pay the price, not your spouse. I did this a couple years ago, my wife's credit was untouched, and mine is already back up to just under 700. Be honest, be strong, do what the attorney says to protect any assets you do not wish to liquidate, and the next thing you know it'll be a bad memory. Most importantly, do not do it again. Commenter 2. I second this. When my business collapsed during the financial crash of 2008, I had no income and a big mortgage. Long story short, I got into about £30,000 of debt. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat and I couldn't think straight due to the stress. I had a meeting with my accountant and she advised bankruptcy, and explained all the benefits of bankruptcy to me. I went ahead with it and breathed a huge sigh of relief. No regrets whatsoever. Commenter 3. How much debt we talking? Commenter 4. That's my first question. Big difference in $3,000 and $30,000. Commenter 5. My guess $75,000 gulp. Commenter 6. If it that much then his head is in the sand. Surely he must know how much income there is. If there were sudden large purchases that he didn't question, then he might be choosing to look the other way. Update. TLDR, my marriage isn't over, but I don't think it will ever be the same. First, thank you to everyone that replied and messaged. I read every single one. I appreciated the hopeful comments and identified with the harsh ones. I'm no angel in this story, so some extra info. My husband has a very high-intensity job and travels frequently. I took over the bills so nothing would get lost in the shuffle when he was away from home and he could focus on what he needed to focus on. Insert joke here, right? I was a complete wreck last week. I barely slept, was physically anxious, and was both absolutely dreading Friday but also couldn't wait for it to just get here already. Fortunately my husband was on a work trip and my kids were busy with basketball, friends, theater, etc. and were barely home. I barely ate and lost like 3 pounds that I've been stuck on. Not recommended for a diet plan. Friday we plan to each work a half day then have some lunch and look at our budget for the year. Tax returns were pretty decent and my husband got a good annual bonus, so it made sense to see what was what. He was already talking about throwing some in a CD or investment and I just felt ill. Friday comes and he comes home with In-N-Out and a chocolate shake for me and I just lost it. Full on sobbing. It freaked the hell out of him, and took me like 10 minutes to get myself under control. Then I spilled it all. I started with, I love you and I'm sorry, and just let fly. That wasn't my plan, I had a whole thing written down to make sure I didn't miss anything and it didn't matter at all. To his incredible credit he just sat there in shock and listened. Then he definitely underreacted and went directly to, we'll fix it together, mode. He wanted some time to absorb what I'd said and then wanted to work through our accounts one by one to see what was actually up, and he wanted to do this alone, then we'd come up with a plan. I let him be and just did some cleaning and laundry. After maybe 45 minutes I heard him leave the house with the door slam. I wasn't about to chase him down after he asked for space to process. I did look at the computer and it was a list of all our outstanding balances. To everyone guessing figures, here you go. I assumed it would be 60K based on my rough math, but I had forgotten a couple I had on autopay. $96,000 in debt that he had no idea about. He messaged me a while later that he was going to stay by his mom for the night and would be back to pack a bag, and that he would rather not talk yet. I respected that and made myself scarce. He came home the next day and we manufactured some time alone to talk by sending the kids out to run errands. The oldest can drive and loves any excuse. The heart-to-heart was basically this: I fucked up royally here, but he shouldn't have checked out completely and let it get to this point. He is going to take over our finances. We're going to do a HELOC or second mortgage for all the recurring stuff and buckle down hard. We will review everything together at least twice a month. We will do marriage counseling together. I agreed to absolutely every term and condition. I honestly thought he wasn't going to come back. Things are chilly at best right now, and I am so desperately sorry and sick over the hurt I caused. At the same time there is a deep sense of relief that, whatever happens, I'm no longer lying about it and everything is out in the open. Maybe he'll still decide that he can't move on, but I'm going to own whatever happens. Comments. Commenter 1. The best solution to solving this together is full transparency in showing that you are committed is to actively attacking this debt, so if you don't currently work, get a job. Also, don't know if you can do it in your country, but in mine I can link banking apps to send notifications whenever there is a transaction. You can set it up to go to you both, so you both can monitor each other. This is a joint situation, and will build back trust. But 96K, wow, do you even have anything to show for that? How did you manage to keep getting credit? That's insane. Commenter 2. OP, you also probably should look into therapy or a shopping addiction group. Almost 100 grand in debt is like gambling addiction levels of having a problem. Good luck though, hope you two work it out and find a way forward. You might consider picking up some additional income to work down the debt. Commenter 3. Agreed. I did this a few years ago and am still fighting the urges that go along with it. There is a deeper problem to solve. I've tried several therapists, but a group would be awesome. I just have a hard time finding anything near me or online. Commenter 4. The heart-to-heart was basically this: I fucked up royally here, but he shouldn't have checked out completely and let it get to this point. Now you're not gonna blame him for not paying attention. Reply, those were his words. The blame is on me here. I feel like I've been pretty transparent about that. This is where he landed on it. Commenter 5. Cut your cards and don't shop. Least you can do. And contribute most of your income to the debt. Have some decency to spare him that. And if it comes to divorce, own your debt. Stories number 21. I got fired from Walmart and never worked there. About a year ago, I worked selling solar panel systems. This job required me to wear khakis and a blue polo when I was meeting customers. One particular day, after meeting with a homeowner, I had to stop by my local Walmart to get more pens and a notepad for my work bag. I pretty consistently got asked if I worked there by other customers, and I would help if I knew what they were after, but I always told them that I didn't work there, and they were always kind. So this fateful day, I grabbed my pens and paper and checked out in the self-checkout section. As I was leaving, I heard someone say behind me, "And just where do you think you're going?" Now, a little about me: I try to mind my own business as much as possible, and don't like to get wrapped up in other people's drama. When I hear outbursts like that in public, I assume it's not because of me. I also try to follow the rules as much as possible. In this case, I assume it wasn't me because I paid for everything, so I continue to my car. Roughly 30 feet from my car I hear again, "Hey you. Stop." I do turn around at that one, because that's typically what you say to a thief. An employee who can only be described as a Karen is marching towards me, 8 different kinds of pissed off. She starts reaming into me about how I'm abandoning my shift, and I'm not supposed to get off for another 3 hours. I'm standing there bewildered because I genuinely have no clue what she's talking about, and I try to let her know I don't work there, but she won't let me get a word in. Eventually she says, "Forget it, you're fired." I waited about 5 seconds, and told her, "I don't work here, I've never worked here." She stared at me, and muttered, "Sorry," and ran back inside. I'm still not sure what happened, but that's my tale of being fired from a job I never worked at. Hope it brought you some joy. Update: I've been banned from that Walmart. The manager in the story apparently has a memory like an elephant, kind of looks like one too, and is still working there today. I went in to pick up a couple things and return one thing for my wife. I'm waiting in the return line, and the person in front of me is having some issue with the return, so the employee helping them calls for a manager. It's the same lady, recognized her immediately, and as it turns out she recognized me, kind of. She points at me and tells me I'm not allowed to shop at this Walmart and if I don't leave she'll call the police. I asked why I was banned, she said she didn't remember, but she knew I was. So I left. My wife and I have been cackling over this for a couple days and thought you'd find it funny as well. Update 2. The final update is that recently my family moved to a new neighborhood around the corner from the Walmart. After meeting the new neighbors, I find out one worked at this Walmart. I told her the story because I still think it's hilarious, and she let me know that manager, let's name her Gertrude, was arrested and fired. Old Gertie apparently had a history of arbitrarily banning people like she did to me, but nobody really ever complained so nothing ever got done, she was just shifted from department to department. One day late last year she got a little too aggressive with an off-duty cop and tried to forcefully remove her from the store, which inevitably led to Gertrude punching the cop. She was arrested and finally fired. My neighbor and most of her coworkers have rejoiced. Karma can be a beautiful thing. Stories number 22. Aita for asking a woman to turn her phone off speaker at a high-end restaurant. My 50F husband, 52M, took my mother and her partner out to dinner at a 4-star restaurant. We had just finished our appetizers when the table next to us was seated, middle-aged woman and a teenager. As the woman walked by our table she had her cell phone in hand and I quickly realized she was on a phone call and it was on speaker. The other tables around us were also occupied and people at those started turning toward her as the conversation was very loud. The woman and the person on the call were essentially speaking to each other with raised voices. Our entrees were brought out and despite several people around the woman just kept going with her conversation, phone propped up by her water glass while the teenager was on her phone. Here is where I may have been the asshole. While we were eating, a couple was seated on the other side of the woman and teenager. They sat for a few minutes and when the server came to introduce himself they asked to be moved to a different table. They clearly said it was because of this woman having a phone conversation. We finished our entrees and were waiting to order dessert. The teen had gotten up from the table. I leaned over and said, "Excuse me. Would you mind taking the phone off speaker? It's very disruptive to those around you. Several tables have been staring at you hoping you would do so." She responded back that, if she were sitting here in the restaurant you would be able to hear the conversation, to which I replied, I would certainly hope that you would not be speaking in raised voices if you were sitting 2 feet from each other at a table. She said, "I'm turning it down." I said, "Thank you because it is very disruptive." At this point she says, "Listen. I'm a grown-ass woman. This is over." I said nothing. We had our dessert and left and as we were leaving she said loudly to the person on the phone, "Okay, they are gone, I'm turning this up so I can hear you." Aita for asking her to take the phone off speakerphone. Stories number 23. The loneliness of modern man. I was at work today and overheard some middle-aged women speaking. All of them had sons around the ages of 25 to 30. Pretty much all of them illustrated concerns with the loneliness of their sons, inability to meet partners, having very narrow hobbies, being career-focused etc. One of the women explained her son's hobbies, and one of the younger girls at work in the office proclaimed he was boring. By all means these guys sounded pretty normal, decent hobbies, educated, fit, and progressing towards their goals career-wise. It seems this general trend and cycle of male loneliness, particularly in the context of dating, is becoming firmly embedded. I kind of see myself in a similar light, so it was an intriguing discussion to me. What do we think the underlying issue is in cultivating such lack of connection, particularly with the opposite sex? It seems like certain groups of men have essentially given up. Stories number 24. Aita for complaining about some snacks my girlfriend bought me after I specifically told her not to. I, 20M, and my GF, 20F, have been together for 1.5 years. She's the type of person that loves giving gifts, and most of the time, I really do appreciate those gifts, whether it be a protein shake after my gym session, or some new clothes that she thinks will look good on me, etc. However, she will sometimes ask me whether or not I want something before buying it, to which I will sometimes say no, I don't. Today, we were walking back to her place after doing the laundry, and she wanted to get some food and offered to get me something while I get back to her home and fold her clothes. I specifically told her not to, as I was still full after dinner and I was feeling a bit sick so my appetite's a bit down. Also, I had already brushed my teeth and applied skincare, so I also don't want to mess that up by brushing again. Lo and behold, when she got back home she had fruits for her and a bag of scallion pancakes. We're studying in Taiwan RN, for me. I thanked her but asked her why she would buy this after I specifically told her not to, and she told me to just brush my teeth again or use mouthwash etc. After that she got upset with me and I half-heartedly apologized because maybe my tone sounded ungrateful. So, Aita, edit. For context, she has done this a few times before, like one time I broke my card holder and I told her not to get me a new one as I still had my previous main wallet, and she still got me a new one anyway. Also, I have discussed this with her before, yet she doesn't seem to remember. Second edit, I cannot keep the food for later. Neither of us have a fridge or stove where we can refry them for later. It's currently 11 p.m. in Taiwan, so keeping them for later would mean leaving them at room temp for 10 plus hours. And with the prevalence of cockroaches here in my area, it's not something I would want to risk. Stories number 25. Aita for not changing my wedding venue despite my future in-laws please. Hi Morgan and Justin. Listening to THT has been a lifesaver while my fiancé and I plan our wedding. Now a little backstory. My fiancé, 26M, and I, 26F, met in high school when we were 15. I ended up moving from Alabama to Utah for college while he stayed closer to home. We reconnected 8 years later while I was still living in Utah and he ended up moving to be with me 8 months later. My parents and in-laws were very supportive of the decision and my in-laws even made comments about us getting married before it was in our sights. Although, the comments usually included hints of us getting married, in Alabama. It was truly like a movie and we got engaged in October. Shortly after our engagement, I got relocated for work to a town 4 hours from both of our parents, they live 5 minutes from each other. Now to the wedding planning. Before we got engaged, I saw a wedding venue on Instagram that was near our home in Utah that we both loved. Neither of us grew up very well off so it was more so just a dream but we loved it nonetheless. Well, fate had it that my relocation and a really great Black Friday deal afforded us the opportunity to book it, so I did. It's a house that sleeps close to 60 people and we have it for a few days. It's perfect because our families just need to get there and we can cover the rest of the costs. We knew in our decision that not everyone would be able to make it, but we knew with a year's notice that the ones that wanted to be there could be and we didn't want a huge wedding anyway. A great majority of our families were excited about the venue, even more so than what was expected. Except for my MIL-to-be. My MIL-to-be has only been in my fiancé's life stably for the last 10 years. She initially expressed that she'd like the wedding to be in Alabama and my fiancé told her point blank that we had decided together that it would be in Utah. It was where we started our life together and was meaningful to us and our relationship and also just gorgeous. She then tried to spin it that his grandmother, who raised him, would not be able to attend. But she was the most excited to visit the beautiful state that we called home. My FIL is excited but doesn't cross his wife. He even let us know he got ordained so that he can perform our ceremony after we told them the venue was booked. We're now well past the refund date on our deposit and my MIL is saying that she's not sure she will be able to attend and anytime we speak with her she makes comments like, "What news do you have? Did y'all get married and we don't have to go to Utah?" Or, "I don't think this aunt and uncle will be able to attend. It's just unreasonable." Or, "My anxiety just might not let me go." We knew that not everyone would be able to go but every conversation, especially recently, is a guilt trip. Am I the asshole? Stories number 26. Help opening a family heirloom secret compartment. I've inherited a beautiful antique wooden box that my great-grandfather built himself sometime before 1950, you can see his initials on the top. It has a false bottom, but here's the catch, no one alive remembers how to open it. I've done a bit of investigating, checked for pinholes and ran a magnet over it but no luck so far. What the magnet did reveal though are what I think are hinges on the bottom sides of the compartment door. So I know where it should open, at the top and swing down and out to open, but I've got no idea how to trigger the latch at the top. I've got some photos that show the compartment door itself and I haven't cleaned it in case there's a clue in the dust or wear patterns. I've circled in green where the magnet was drawn to and in blue is what I think is a metal rod for the hinge. The magnet was attracted to the whole line. If you peek through the wood join in the green circles, there are small flashes of metal there too. Any ideas on where to start? Could there be a hidden push mechanism, a sliding panel or some other trick I haven't thought of? Sum of comments. Editor's note, there are lots of suggestions and comments, these are just a few to give an idea of what ideas people had. Commenter 1, maybe a fishhook would help. Not sure what clearance you have but sliding a thin edge, think a Lexan sheet, through can at least tell you where there is hardware. Reply, it just fits through, have tried both ways and it's hooking the latch but it's not moving it. Commenter 2, razor blade to slide the latch or flathead screwdriver and a hammer. Reply, we'll grab a razor blade and try that soon. Commenter 3, this isn't helpful but I'm curious, does it sound or feel like anything is in there? Reply, yes, I can hear paper photos documents sliding when I move the box. Would love to know what they are. Commenter 4, if you pushed a playing card or something thin into the gap at the bottom of where the opening is below the heart directly across from where you see the metal pin, 6 o'clock below the heart, does that do anything? It looks like there's where there as well as at the top. Maybe have to slip something in at both points. Does pushing on any part of the section that's to open do anything or make a sound? Reply, interestingly the playing card slides down about 35 mm when I slide it into the bottom join but only 10 mm when I slide it into the left, top and right join. I think the door is sitting on a shelf, great tip. Same commenter, oh exciting new discovery. If you put the card in and slide it against what we think is a metal post at the top join or around the sides and bottom, does anything move or does it get stuck against anything? Reply, the card slides pretty smoothly until it hits the metal posts on the top and left right. It's so frustrating as I can hear a hollow noise when I tap the top but there's no give in the wood at all. Commenter 6, what about the slot under the middle hinge? Reply, I was interested in that too. From what I can see, it just looks like the glue has come away a bit as there are still some parts across that slot with little bits of glue still there. I can slide paper down a tiny bit but it gets stuck on the remaining glue. Commenter 7, go to your local county jail or detention center during the late afternoon evening night, explain your situation, and politely ask one of the guards running the x-ray scanner if they'll run it and show you what's in the box. If you go after peak hours, the visitors lobby will be empty, which means they'll probably be bored and more than happy to show you what's in your mystery box. Reply, I get on pretty well with my dentist so I'm going to try to see if he wouldn't mind x-raying it for me. Fingers crossed. Commenter 8, have you tried pushing on it like a button? Have you tried pushing on just one of the corners in the middle to see if it would budge? Knocked on it? Try and Ouija board and contact your great-grandpops, see if he'll tell you the secret. Reply, haha, at this point that's going to be my next step. The wood is pretty sturdy but have tried pushing knocking on it. It has the clicking sound of wood against metal but no change in opening the compartment door. Commenter, do you have the key? Have you tried, when already open, turning the key the other way? Or pushing the key into the lock, like a button? Reply, I do have the key but it doesn't turn at all when put into the lock. Not sure if it's broken or stuck. Updates in a comment. Update, thank you so much to everyone who shared their tips and thoughts. The top left was probably an easy closer as someone suggested that had broken through the years. The recess ends and there is nothing else in that area. And the lock was just a lock. We removed the top left metal panel as well as the lock to see what was behind the mechanism. The top left was probably an easy closer as someone suggested that had broken through the years. The recess ends and there is nothing else in that area. And the lock was just a lock. I also have some videos to share showing the magnets, knocking, pushing and close-ups of the sides of the box as it's not sliding. We'll upload them ASAP. Update 3, same day. I don't think the base of the box slides. It's incredibly sturdy and the scratches also look to be across the top-bottom sides in the same direction as the left-right sides. I know that generation reused a lot of things so maybe those scratches were already on the wood. Update 4, can't thank everyone enough for all the suggestions and comments. As a few people have suggested, I'm going to try to see if my dentist would be kind enough to take an x-ray of the false bottom to see if that helps before I do anything else. If that doesn't help, I think the best option would be to delicately file away the top latch rod as the shelf would still hold the compartment door and it wouldn't be damaged. I can feel everyone's anticipation, so while we wait for the results of an x-ray, if I can wrangle one. Update 5, update, secret compartment hasn't given up her secrets yet. Just exploring some options that ensure no damage to the box, so appreciate everyone's patience. In the meantime, with all the focus on the secret compartment, I haven't even mentioned what I found in the main compartment. Someone asked me to share so I've posted some highlights, as they weren't in the secret compartment, I couldn't do a new post here. I'm a sucker for family history so I'm chuffed I get to be the guardian of these treasures. Smiling face with hearts. Comments. Commenter, okay that's it, smash it open. Reply, don't get me wrong, I've been tempted but I think my great-grandfather would actually haunt me forever. Mementos inside. Reply, I hope so too. I didn't detail it earlier as I was so focused on getting the compartment open, but the box already had beautiful mementos in it like my great-grandfather's pocket watch, my great-grandmother's home service medal from World War I, a love letter from my grandfather to my grandmother, it was very sweet, and a cameo brooch my grandmother was given for her 16th birthday. Anything at this point is a bonus. In another comment, here's what I found in the main compartment. And here's a beautiful photo of my great-grandfather and great-grandmother from 1912. Commenter, what happens if you turn the box upside down? Or, can you just use your fingernail to gently try to pry the door up and open from the top? Reply, nothing happens when the box is upside down and I tried prying it open with a box cutter but the wood wasn't making nice noises. Made me scared I would split it, so I gave up on that approach. OOP's next steps, going to see if my dentist can x-ray it for me. And if that fails, I think I will gently file the top rod away and see if that means I can pry it open carefully. Title, Update, Family Heirloom Secret Compartment, it's open and solved. Thanks so much for all your suggestions and tips. I can confirm not only is the secret compartment open, but the way it works is genius. My dentist, who is an absolute legend, was kind enough to x-ray the latch. It only showed a long metal pin, and as there wasn't an obvious way to open it, I ended up carefully filing down the pin with a tiny hacksaw blade. Inside, I found a photograph, not sure of the significance, a newspaper clipping from when my great-grandfather passed, an envelope labeled, 3 most treasured letters Dad. The letters absolutely floored me. The first was from his mother, a prayer she'd written to him before she passed in 1924, making the letter over a century old. The second was from his eldest daughter on her wedding day. And the third, this one hit me the hardest. It was from my grandmother to him, filled with the most beautiful words about how much she loved him and her mum. I had a baby last year, and reading that letter made me really stop and think. I can only hope that one day, my daughter will feel the same deep love and appreciation for me and my partner as my grandmother did for her dad and mum. And as for how the secret compartment worked, once it was open I noticed the pin had pressure against it when I pushed it back. And my partner suddenly noticed the cornice of the box shifted slightly too. I have no idea how my great-grandfather rigged it up, but when the lower cornice is pressed in the middle at the top, the pin is pulled back. This whole experience has been unreal. That little compartment turned out to be a true treasure chest, filled with so much love. Thanks again to everyone who was as invested as me in finding out how it opened and what was inside. Sum of comments. Commenter, oh, what a clever little mechanism. Such craftsmanship, I'm in awe. Congratulations on opening it, and thank you so much for sharing your success. Also, best dentist ever. Thanks to them too. Reply, best dentist, he even offered to open it with the smallest drill he had if I couldn't find a thin enough blade. I've been going to him for 32 years and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do when he retires, grinning face with sweat. Thank you so much. Commenter, I don't know what your plans are for the box and its contents, but might I suggest that if you're keeping them together, you should write your own letter describing this adventure, and add that, and the x-ray. Who knows who'll read it in the future, but I think it would be an awesome thing to find. Reply, they are absolutely staying together, I'll just add to the collection so I can pass it on to my children. I love this. I have already put the dental x-ray in the compartment. I might even print out these 2 posts to go with my letter. Commenter, thanks for providing the update. Your great-granddad's craftsmanship is a marvel, and I love that the treasures he hid away were things that were most meaningful to him, not valuable in a monetary sense. BRB, gotta go call my parents. Reply, my absolute pleasure. My family always called him a master builder, but now I know he truly was an exceptional talent. And your comment made me tear up. I'm sure he and my grandmother would be pretty chuffed knowing they inspired this little outburst of love. Commenter, on how to make the mechanism, the key is to carve and or sand the back of the wood until it's so thin that it's bendy enough in just that spot. With proper surface finishing etc. of the visible side beforehand, it can be completely invisible. Lots of practice required, and seeing what would works better for your project so it flexes well instead of cracking. I'm a woodworker with a love for boxes like that too, but nowhere on the level of OP's relative. I could probably carve that release spot, but I have no idea how the pin was set. Reply, the fact that it is completely invisible as well. I would have expected a notch or bend in the wood where it was flexed, but it's completely sturdy and straight until you press it in that exact spot. A work of art. Is it ruined? It's not ruined at all. I severed a metal pin which can be reattached if I so choose, but I don't think the compartment needs to be locked. Its treasures are a lot more valuable when they can be shared and appreciated. Will you repair it? Maybe, we haven't decided yet. I was chatting to my mom about it yesterday, and we would hate for the mechanism to be forgotten about again in case the next time someone tries to open it, they aren't as careful and damage the box. Transcribed letter. Editor's note, transcribed exactly how it is written, including spaces and spelling. Dear Mother and Daddy, I've been thinking lately about how easy it is to take one's parents and family for granted, and by the same token, to never bother to tell them some of the many things we think. And it doesn't seem right. I don't mean silly, overly emotional things, nor do I mean things such as you two certainly being a model for any young newly married couple, for you are that. It's things like somehow always being there when you're needed, not being too superior to tell your children you're sorry, and treating them like humans. It's the fact that you were able to bring up 7 children with, X'd out spots, backspace wasn't a thing on typewriters, kindness and love rather than spankings and constant punishments. That to me dishonesty is still man's greatest sin. That you can discipline and have them worship you, your grandchildren without a raise of voice. It's that all you ever asked of us was that we do our best, not that we receive honors or outdo others, and that you were, and are, proud of anything we do. That you make us want you to share our fun, and our troubles. That I have always been eager for me friends to know you. That you used a rare wisdom in our upbringing, one that I wish I had. That's you collectively. Separately, Daddy, you're generous, understanding, sympathetic, fun to be with. You have a wonderful sense of humor. You're a million TNGs that make you a great man, one whose greatness will probably never be properly recognized. While, Mother, your strength is leaned on even more than you think, how I wish I had it. You're enthusiastic, unselfish, sympathetic, thoughtful, and again, a million other things I could never express. And you're more fun than any girl my age I know. I guess it's just the happiness you make out of life. That's the best word I can think of to sum it up. And it's the fact that I could want to write this and mean it, and so much more, sincerely. Stories number 28. How would one get quotes, tree law? My friend had his neighbor come onto his property and kill 24 8-foot-tall privet ligustrum privacy hedge. They had a settlement conference and the judge adjudicator told my friend he needs exact value and I imagine Bill Gates could get it done, when my friend complained about no local arborists willing to give quotes. And the ones that would give a quote only could give replacement cost for up to 7 gallon or about 2 feet tall. Edit so far he called 5 arborists, and a few nurseries, offered to pay for time for quotes no one was interested. I suggested he change tactic and just straight up tell them why he wants the quote and that there was no job in the future and it was for court as well as offer to pay for their time. He found an arborist who said it was his off-season and was more than interested in doing a quote and seemed giddy at making a quote for Mr. Gates, no expense spared for the replacement cost of the 8-foot-tall privet ligustrum privacy hedge. He was talking about maybe needing to have a nursery taking in some 7-gallon saplings and grow them for a few years because 8-foot-tall ligustrum are not common and might be impossible to find. He also gave the names and numbers of some other arborists who might give a quote and told him to tell them he was sent by him. Comments. What you are looking for is a tree appraisal or tree valuation, and you don't get that from a nursery. They are in the business of selling the trees they happen to have in inventory. They are not insured to do consulting work as appraisers. Expect to pay for it and ask the court to reimburse the cost to you. Look for a certified arborist, CA, or board certified master arborist, BCMA, in your area who does tree valuations and is willing to serve as an expert witness in your court case if it comes to that. Update. How would one get quotes? Update from my friend. He found an arborist, he took a bunch of measurements and sent pictures and got a quote. The arborist found 8-foot-tall hedges but he needs far more to replace them than he thought and a bunch of other stuff. It's honestly hilarious how much this is going to cost to be made whole. He had offered to settle for $3,500 and to clean up the mess they made. The quote for anyone interested was, hedge removal. Remove 58-foot hedge with sprouts at 4-inch $2,500. Remove debris $500. Chain link fence removal and replacement for access for stump grinders $1,500. Disposal of stump debris $500. Stump grinding and root removal 60 feet by 3 feet $3,500. Replant common 8-foot-tall privet. Buy 3 yards of new soil $1,500. Buy 174 8-foot-tall privet $250 each $43,500. Labor $2,500. Delivery $2,000. $57,000 plus taxes. My buddy can't stop laughing. Do not fuck with people's shrubbery folks. I do have a question. Why does it take so many privets to replace what was missing? His privets were super old and huge. Maybe they have to layer the new ones to get the same privacy as before. Comments. I'm confused. Original post said they killed 24 8-foot-tall privets but now they have to buy 174 to replace 24. Reply. I am also confused, that's why I asked about it. I texted him, he said he's not sure himself. He counted the main trunk of his bushes but they were huge and had many offshoots. Maybe the arborist has some kind of calculation he does to fill the missing space. Honestly no clue. Stories number 29. Why do you think so many men are blindsided by their breakups? Speaking with a professional colleague this past weekend who was off his game entirely. This is a person who is normally focused, efficient and reliable. When I asked if he needed a moment, he seemed mildly flustered over pretty routine things. He broke down completely. This is the second coworker in 2 months whose work is suffering due to relationship turmoil divorce. He said he was completely blindsided by his girlfriend of 4 years packing up and leaving and it all came out of nowhere. I'm an outsider, not family or a close friend, and even I could see it coming, just based on their social media posts alone. It's clear she is cultivating a healthy lifestyle around fitness, beauty and travel and has many friends, spoken with her a few times at work, family and after hours things, very pleasant, easygoing personality. Meanwhile he was posting more and more about traditional roles of women. It was very obvious there were 2 completely different value systems emerging. Further, he was even more confused about why she seemed to be doing fine while he could barely hold it together. And this is such a common theme, even right here in this sub. Why do you think it is that many men often miss what, to me, are fairly obvious signs of the decline of their relationships' marriages? Even when their girlfriends or wives communicate to them that they are becoming increasingly unhappy. Why is being dumped the wake-up call for many? Stories number 30. Yes, it is nice being child-free. Late 30s, have decided to never have kids and have my surgery scheduled to ensure it never happens. It irritates me when people feel the need to comment, must be nice to be able to do whatever you want, as if the parents didn't have a choice in the matter of having kids. And of course, the bingos, it's different when it's your own, what if your spouse wants kids? And a favorite in the child-free community, who'll take care of you when you get old? Since CF people don't have the traditional, family unit, we often have responsibilities thrust upon us from the workplace, and even within extended family, we're expected to pick up the slack when parents can't meet deadlines or can't make rent. Not all of us are loaded with cash and awesome jobs. We have most of the same problems as parents do, just a huge chunk of expenses go to raising children that we don't have to deal with. Stories number 31. AIO for being upset that my 24F boyfriend, 25M, cancelled our romantic dinner to take his mom and sister, 25F, instead. Basically what the title says. My 24F boyfriend, 26M, of 3 years had told me over the weekend that he made reservations for a romantic restaurant on the lake. I was excited because our jobs don't allow us a lot of time to spend together as is. I packed a cute outfit and got everything ready this morning to change into after work. Then, he texts me. I actually can't take you tonight, I'm going with my mom and sister, 25F, instead. Now, normally, I'm pretty understanding, but this is weird, right? He kind of just brushed me off with a, well, they really wanted to go. So yeah, sorry. I have no problem with him spending time with his family, but this was supposed to be our date. Not to mention I had to prepare and pack everything since he lives about 45 minutes away from me. Now he's going to enjoy a romantic dinner with his mom and sister and I'm going back home to be by myself. AIO for being upset about this. Update, thank you all for your advice. I have read all the comments, and I went ahead and pressed the issue a little further with him. To respond to some questions in the comments. Do you get along with his family? His family and I get along pretty well. We've been on trips together, gotten each other gifts for holidays, birthdays, the whole 9 yards. I have always had a creeping suspicion that they didn't like me because when I come over, they are super passive and don't really engage in conversation with me. When I ask my boyfriend, he says they're just reserved and shy. I think they just don't like that the only man in their life has a girlfriend. Is he cheating on you? I can confidently say he's not cheating on me. He just has this weird relationship mama's boy thing going on that has always slightly bothered me. He literally goes out of his way to show his appreciation for them. Sometimes it's endearing, but sometimes, I feel like I'm on a back burner. Now. He said he understands where he went wrong and doesn't want me to feel like I'm the last option. Apparently he's been canceling plans on them for a while, so he felt bad when they expressed interest in going to dinner with him tonight, just them three. He said he actually made the plans with them yesterday but forgot to text me before I got all my stuff packed up. I'm still not satisfied with this response, so we'll have to talk in person after he enjoys his dinner with them. I will be putting my foot down about the mom and sister thing. Like seriously, his sister is older than me and he treats her like she is 9 years old. Thank you to all the women, and men, sharing their fil stories. You've given me confidence to stand up for myself. Also, thank you for the laughs. I tend to make light of situations. Your concern brought me some joy today. I felt crazy, but you all made me realize I need to stand up for myself right now. Stories number 32. I found out my 26M, GF, 24F, barely eats and has little to no food at her house. Any advice? We've been dating for almost 5 months at this point and became official recently. She always jokes about losing weight and not eating enough. At first I didn't think about it too much since she's on the thicker side. I come to find out that she barely eats at all since her house barely has enough food, if not no food at all. She told me she never brought me to her house since she has a borderline abusive home life, it's dirty and has little to no food. I was shocked and horrified when I found out. Her job has been cutting her hours so she's tight on cash. I even offered to pay for all the food dates we have, cook her dinner after she gets off work and even paying for her groceries, but she just rejects my offer and keeps telling me she needs to figure this out on her own. I even cooked her lunch after work and she refuses to eat it and said I didn't have to do that. I felt bad even eating besides her and it honestly broke my heart to see her situation like this and I'm not even sure how to proceed. Asterisk update, some have brought this up and giving more details could help. Bear with me, English is not my first language, I'll provide what I know. Her home life is chaotic from what I understand. Her mom has an undiagnosed mental illness and that she's constantly paranoid and thinks her kids need therapy and need to buy their own stuff. Her dad is a vegan and doesn't eat as much as what I know. 8 dogs in the house and has 4 other siblings. Dogs are not trained and they poop and pee everywhere in the house. I never met her mother, so I can only take her word for it and make assumptions, but she has a strained relationship with her mother and her mom is also dealing with substance abuse or has a history of it. I don't want to push her for info about her home life if she doesn't feel comfortable sharing it, but that's all I know in my limited understanding of things. I just let her be and listen when she does share. Stories number 33. There's something wrong with my body and I don't know what it is. I 19F don't know what's wrong with me, but I know it's something. I am very sick. I'm losing my ability to walk, can't climb stairs, can't stand for longer than 5 minutes, constantly pass out, have what I believe are absent seizures, lightheadedness, dizziness, blurred and double vision, extremely high heart rate, trouble breathing. I sometimes can't get out of bed, I can't stand long enough to shower, I have to sit in the shower, sometimes I don't have enough power to sit up and drink water, sometimes I can't bathe myself and my partner bathes me, I lose feeling and control of my legs, have extreme muscle spasms, feel pens and needles from knee down and on my hands, dislocate joints, almost constant nausea, and horrible pain. I'm not talking like oh I sprained my ankle as in I've broke bones, and it's worse than that. My boyfriend comforts me as I have sobbing fits over the pain and losing control of my lower half. He has found me passed out at the top of the stairs as well as rushed to me as I've fallen down them. We've even tested myself to see if I'm faking it, which I asked him to do, by completely supporting my weight as in having me stand up and then dropping me to see if my legs would work and catch myself. After the second time of me asking him to do it, he told me to stop because I was getting bruises. That's another thing, you can poke me as hard as you poke a button in the car and I will have a bruise the next day. I'm not actually writing this, I'm using speech to text because the keyboard is blurry. Quite often I cannot get out of bed and I've been to doctors before and they just keep saying it's anxiety and that it's all in my head. My boyfriend is in the army and has some medical training and has witnessed all of this firsthand and constantly reassures me that it's not in my head. I don't have answers. I've looked into POTS, EDS, and a bunch of other things that I can't remember these specifics for. I'm in so much pain and I'm running out of the pain meds that they gave me, about 20 or so. I take them as sparingly as I can and I only have about 3 left. I feel like I live off of Tylenol and ice packs. My boyfriend is genuinely concerned at the amount of Tylenol that I take in order for it to make a difference. It keeps me up, I cannot sleep, I often just lay in bed staring at the ceiling crying. I'm not looking for sympathy, I'm looking for help. If anyone has any advice, I'm literally willing to do anything. I have passed out in public and collapsed on the ground when my legs have stopped working. I get weird looks and people always ask what's wrong with me. You know, I want to be able to say, oh, I have this condition, but I break down every time they ask because I don't know. I used to be a pretty active person. I did sports, dance, theater, carpentry, and I loved playing with my dog. Now it hurts to walk from my room to the bathroom and sometimes yes, I literally have to crawl. I already have pretty bad mental health and have been hospitalized for mental health before, and losing what I feel is my freedom is making everything so much worse. Stories number 34. Whipta if I told my husband he is bathing wrong. I, 31F, and my husband, 31M, have been together a total of 2 years but known each other for about 20 years. He has been complaining that his side of the bed smells and his towel smells. I am very diligent on changing the sheets every 2 weeks if not every month, and wash towels diligently as well. He doesn't use any loofah or washcloth to bath, just his hands with a bar of soap. I have been told that could be why when he sweats he doesn't smell great. I'm trying to figure out how to say it nicely without being mean, because I know it could hurt his self-esteem. Would I be the a-hole if I gave him a loofah or something and say it's because you don't use this kind of stuff is why you stink? Or am I wrong altogether? Side note, with people saying change sheets more frequently. I have a disability that makes doing that a little difficult, so I need help and I tend to nag when I need to do it. Stories number 35. Me 30F and BF 37M have been together 5 years and I just found out has been hiding an STD from me the entire time. Me 30F and my BF 37M have been together 5 years and only just last week he told me that he had an STD, a permanent one, and never told me out of being embarrassed and ashamed. He had this prior to us meeting. Besides this, our relationship was great, but since he told me I can't get it out of my head that he lied for so long and went out of his way to hide it from me as he takes medication for it every day. and put my health at risk for so long and had so many opportunities to tell me and just didn't. The only reason why he told me was because he recently had to go DRS for a checkup and it came up in that session and he felt guilty for having that secret. I'm very big on honesty and he knows that and that's why he told me, but I just don't believe it. I think he was scared I was going to find out another way and was just doing damage control. We live together so it's been hard for me to just pretend like I'm okay about it, but I'm not. I have major trust issues as it is and this really threw me off and I just can't look at him the same. I just got tested yesterday so I haven't got my results yet, but I will be absolutely livid if I have it. What to do and don't want him to feel more ashamed about it by blasting him, but I also have no idea how to get past this kind of betrayal. I can't help but think how much longer would he have gone without telling me if it wasn't for the recent DR visit. I'm just at a loss because this is the only thing that's wrong in our relationship. Aaron, please any advice would be great. Stories number 36. After 5 years of dating, he doesn't know if he sees a future with me. We are both in our mid-20s, 26F, 27M together for 5 years. We never really talk about the future. He always says, we'll talk about it when we get there. I know he wants to get married and have children, but he never really talks about it, or if he does, he doesn't mention it with me. In the past he has said he sees a future with me, and he wouldn't be with me if he didn't. But recently he says he doesn't know if he sees a future with me. He used to, but now he doesn't know. Says something is holding him back and he doesn't know what it is. Now that I'm graduating I figured we would move in together, but he says he's hesitant. He says he loves me but doesn't know if he's in love with me. I feel like if you did, you would know. These aren't things you should question at this point. Any advice would be appreciated. Edit. What's your opinion on love but not in love? Is being in love something that normally withers away in relationships? Or is it supposed to last forever? Edit 2. Sorry, just wanted to correct because I don't think I made it clear. I always thought that we'd be moving together once I was done with grad school, but when I mentioned that to him a few days ago was when he told me about all his uncertainties that I listed above. Would definitely not be moving in after that. We are meeting up to talk this week and I'm going to take all of your advice and do what I need to do. Thank you everyone. I read through every comment. It was much needed to hear and so appreciated. Stories number 37. Aita for expecting some gratitude after taking a family in for 2 weeks, then using that to justify why I don't want to travel for a birthday party. Much of our area was severely damaged in the South Carolina storms. We took in a family of 3 for 2 weeks after their home was damaged severely after a storm. It was 2 adults and an 18-month-old, and they are my spouse's close friends. We fed them and met all their needs until they got into their rental home. This family is doing okay financially, but I'm sure this didn't help and I wasn't going to make them pay for a hotel or even pay us to stay. We wanted to take care of them. After they left, they continued on with their lives, going to amusement parks, posting adventures on social media, spending money on nice dinners, etc. At first it didn't bother me, but as I started seeing them move on with their lives, I felt kinda disrespected that we opened our home to them for 2 weeks and they couldn't show some gesture of gratitude. No card, no bottle of whiskey, flowers, no offering to buy dinner one of the nights. Instead we fed them our food the whole time. Any show of gratitude would have been awesome, but they didn't do anything. I forgot about it and we continued on with our lives and friendship. Last week, one of them begged us to go to their destination birthday party for their kid. They are having trouble getting people to go, with most RSVP being declined on the Facebook post. They saw I declined, and they called us pleading us to go. It is about 2 hours away, and probably would have involved us paying for a hotel room that night and going to an amusement park, as well. My wife suggested we do it to support them on their girl's 2-year-old birthday. I was repulsed and said, no way, citing above lack of gratitude for what we did for them after Hurricane Helene. She said Ita for declining for those reasons, and I'm being petty. She was short with me for a while after that, saying they didn't have to do anything and that we should go since none of their other close friends are going to their party. I don't feel like I'm in the wrong here. I would never crash someone's home for 2 weeks and not show some gesture of gratitude. When they begged us for another favor, I felt zero sympathy for their plight and made me respect them even less. If it was any of our other friends, we would go, but I'm not wasting my time or money for them, and I feel like it is they who are the a-holes. My wife is asking me to reconsider, saying Ita for expecting gratitude. Stories number 38. Caught my neighbor's secret morning romance. So, yesterday morning, I was sitting by my window, sipping on my coffee, when I noticed this guy standing outside my neighbor's house. He was pacing around, texting, and honestly acting kind of sketchy. I figured he was either lost or waiting for someone, but then I realized he seemed way too into it. Something was definitely up. A few minutes later, I saw the girl, still in her pajamas and looking half asleep, walk out the front door. They started talking and I thought, okay, this is it. They went inside the house, and I'm sitting there, peeking through the blinds, curious about what was going on. Then, I saw them through the window. They started hugging, and not just a quick hug, it was one of those full-on, romantic hugs. I could see them leaning in, and before I knew it, they were kissing right there in the middle of the living room. I couldn't help but just stare. It felt like I was watching a scene straight out of a movie, except through my window. But then, just as they were really getting into it, I heard a horn honk outside. I looked out and saw her little sister's van pulling up. The guy immediately froze. I saw the panic on his face through the window, and he bolted upstairs to hide. I was dying laughing at this point. He looked like he was in a full-blown escape mission. The girl quickly closed the door behind her and tried to act casual. Her sister came inside and asked, "Who's home?" Meanwhile, the guy was upstairs, probably crouching behind something, and I spotted it. He left his Crocs outside the door. Like, seriously? You can't be stealthy if you forget your shoes. Anyway, after what felt like forever, the guy finally sneaked back downstairs and ran straight to his scooter like he was in some sort of race. I couldn't stop laughing at how awkward and dramatic it all was. Stories number 39. Aita for refusing to sing at my brother's wedding. My 28M brother, 33M, will be getting married in the fall. The two of us are fairly close, more so in the past few years, which is to say that he is not ignorant about past events in my life. Recently, I got invited to dinner by him and his fiancée. The two were very obviously buttering me up to ask me something the whole time before my brother finally told me. "So, fiancé, and I have been talking, and we'd really love it if you sang our first dance song, just the one song. I know you don't really sing anymore, but I dug up some old videos of you singing and she loves your voice just as much as I do. This could be your wedding present to us." For background, I used to sing all the time. I formed a band with a bunch of my friends in high school, and we were very minorly successful. We had a YouTube channel with a few hundred subscribers, and there were a handful of people that had their own recordings that were posted to their own pages. In this band was my best friend since 2nd grade, Mason, not real name. Unfortunately, when we were 17, Mason took his own life. Additionally, I was the one who found him. The band dissolved almost immediately, and our YouTube channel and all our own videos were taken down. Since then, I have never sang. Singing without Mason felt wrong, so I didn't. Not in the shower, no karaoke sessions, not at church, never. My brother knew all of this, but I wasn't sure if his fiancée did, so I started off with, "Sorry, I'll have to refuse. You know I don't sing anymore," in the interest of not totally ruining dinner. My brother was annoyed as hell at this. "Come on, it's for my wedding, it's just one song, I'm not asking for much here," and so forth. I continued to politely refuse and left soon after. Shortly after, I start receiving countless calls from my mom, who also knows the reason why and decided to harass me about not singing. "It's your brother's wedding. I think you really should see a therapist about this. We all love your singing voice and it's been 10 years since any of us got to hear it." The two have since decided on a new tactic by saying that my song will be a good way to honor Mason's memory. The point about therapy aside, I've been to lots of it. I'm at peace with my decision to stop singing, Aita for refusing. It's clearly important to them. Edit, to clarify, I have really only ever performed with Mason. The joy I got from performing was not the act of singing itself, but from performing with my best friend. Update 1. I was told people prefer linking the original post in updates. Hope that works. I cannot believe that this is still a thing, much less one that people are interested in. Lucky me though, because the overwhelming support I received here convinced me to do some things I definitely wouldn't have done otherwise. New things happened pretty quickly, but I held off on a new post because my last one was premature. Some things people predicted happened, other things did not. Let's get this out of the way up front, the wedding is still on. The wedding will always still be on. This was never in doubt. I think a lot of commenters vastly overestimated my importance. After talking with future sister-in-law, I did not hear anything from my brother, at least initially. I did eventually get a short text from her just saying that I shouldn't worry about the wedding anymore and they'll find someone else. My mom was another story. She called me repeatedly since I ignored her first few calls, and when I finally picked up, she was about 2 steps below screaming into the phone. About how I interfered in your brother's relationship and made things so much harder for them, and do you know how upset he is right now? It's time to put grudges aside and make amends. It was not an especially long conversation. I feel it is important to provide some context for my mom. I've seen some comments about she has clear favoritism for my brother. Strictly speaking, I'm not sure that's true. Over the years, she said or did some things to my brother that has, at several points, caused him to go no contact with her. Some of these I fully understood, others created some questions. As a result, my mom tends to overcompensate and it comes to him because I think she's terrified of getting cut off again. I did a lot of self-reflection over the next few days about my relationships with my family members, and decided it was time to have a very honest conversation with my brother. I even booked a bonus therapy session specifically about preparing myself for this conversation. I called him up and asked him point blank if, knowing I will absolutely not be singing for him, he still wanted me to attend. He didn't answer for a bit, but eventually he said yes. I remembered a bunch of comments that said he may still try to pull something at his reception anyway using public pressure and announce me as the singer. While I personally didn't find that to be especially likely, my brother is a big planner-scheduler. I realized I no longer trusted him like I used to and said as much, and that I will only be attending the ceremony, not the reception. He had a minor freak out over this, "Are you fucking kidding me?" but then said it was whatever, and that I needed to come up with a concrete excuse for my absence so that bullshit doesn't overshadow everything. Fine, whatever, and that I could no longer be his groomsman since that would leave an empty chair at the head table. We hung up shortly after. We have not spoken again since. Something that hasn't come up before, we both have two other brothers, 35, 26. Neither live in the same area as us. My younger brother lives on the other side of the country, and we don't talk especially frequently, so I don't know what, if anything, they had heard about the situation previously. Well, because he kicked one of his brothers out of the wedding party, he decided to replace the other two as well because it wouldn't look right to have just 2 out of 3 of his brothers as groomsmen, so instead opted for 0 out of 3. Eldest brother got kind of bratty about it. He included all 3 of his brothers in his wedding party when he got married and is mainly pissed about the non-reciprocation, but never asked for nor received the full story on our feud. I don't especially enjoy talking to him, so if he wants to blame me for getting booted from the wedding party, that's fine. My younger brother, on the other hand, made it his personal mission to extract every single detail possible from all parties. He called me up to get my side, and then decided he was going to join me in skipping the reception. He has decided to start brainstorming an excuse for the both of us. Honestly, I think he was looking for an excuse not to go anyway. He despises family functions. At this point I am praying for no more updates. This is just fucking absurd. The wedding cannot come soon enough. This is not related to the update, but instead to the comments I received. I have tried my best to be civil with the many comments of, "Is that what Mason would want?" or "Have you tried therapy?" We are now 3 posts deep on this nonsense. I'm not going to be trying so hard at civility anymore. Also a reminder, singing was a hobby. I gave up a hobby. I was not on the cusp of making it big. I did not throw away my dreams. This is 5 dudes screwing around in a basement on weekends and occasionally playing at a bar, fair, or coffee shop. For what it's worth, I still listen to music and even will pick up my bass again on occasion when I'm bored. Therapy is not an undo button on grief and trauma. I am not the same person I was before he died, and I never will be again. Therapy is about accepting this and the new person I've become, not going back to the way things were. New OP. Model does not include singing. Stories number 40. My girlfriend died. I don't know where to post this. This was the only sub I could think of that I don't know if I'm looking for advice or what I am doing, but I need to get it off my chest. She is my first girlfriend. I am a girl myself and I thought maybe I was bi, which doesn't matter honestly. She is all I have ever wanted, and I knew that from the start. She died 2 weeks ago. On the floor in her apartment, cardiac arrest. What the actual fuck is that supposed to mean? She's 23 and she dies of a heart attack. The worst part, she was alone and she must have been so scared, and I wasn't there. I was supposed to, but I didn't because I said yes to extra hours at my fucking job. I don't know how to interact with her parents anymore, and the funeral was fucking awful. I don't know what to do. I visit her every day. I sometimes meet her mom there, and she'll hold my hand and I cry till I almost throw up on the cemetery. My dad has scheduled me with a therapist, so we'll see how that goes. It's not that long ago since she passed, but this is the longest we've gone without seeing each other, and it makes me ache. Edit. I honestly forgot I wrote this post before falling asleep. Thank you for nice comments and sweet messages. I will try to keep better in touch with her mother, so I'm taking the train to them in about an hour and will spend the night at their house. Maybe a bad idea, but it'll make her parents happy. Thank you to everyone who explained that she probably was at peace when she passed. It helped a bit. I can only hope that's the case. Stories number 41. Aita for not caring about my roommate's illness and expecting her to be more tidy. I have lived with my roommate for over 8 months now. Her low-key helicopter mother told me beforehand that because of her illness, bladder digestive problems, she let her be a little spoiled and would just cleaned up after her and asked for me to be patient with her lack of cleanliness and to wake her up every day. Now that I think ABT it why I agreed, but I was like, kind of a weird thing to ask me, but sure I guess, but I didn't think it was gonna be an issue until I actually saw it. She wouldn't do the dishes, clean up after herself, flush the toilet, or basically any shared housework unless I specifically reminded her, and it gets a little tiring after months of that. She also had a weird habit of throwing food down the sink and to start smelling real bad if I wait for her to clean it up. She would also have terrible table manners and would leave food directly on the couch and stain it then leave it as it is, which was pretty darn difficult to get off since the couch was made of fabric. But whenever I point it out, at first she says she'll stop, but the next day I find her doing the same thing. Now my own parents were aware of all that and at first they were also pissed, but lately they've been telling me that my roommate was just very ill and I should be patient, but honestly I don't care. I don't think being ill justifies her making a mess around and me having to be patient, waking her up every day and still cleaning up after her. By the way, for context we're both uni students but she barely attends any classes, so I'm NGL after coming back from my classes to a mess and weird odors. It's not the best feeling out there, but I might be overreacting. Stories number 42. Has anyone been insulted by guys who are trying to hit on their GF? Hello everyone. My BF and I, F21, have been together for 3+ years now. Within the last year I have been getting hit on when we go to functions together, and 3 times the men hitting on me brought him down as they were doing so. I mean, they were insulting him to get at me, which is really rude and honestly gross, and I cannot imagine ever doing that. For example, a guy told me in front of my BF that he could see I was punching in the relationship. Another time a guy asked me if I was dating to marry. Taken back I said yes. Why? And he said, because I can tell your BF is useless and will never be anything. I was so shocked I just said, why would you say that? Anyway, it makes my BF very insecure and I feel sad for him too. There's no reason for him to feel less than. It leads to him getting angry and not wanting to leave me alone at functions. One time he acted like it was my fault even though I told the guy many times to go away. I just want advice on how to support him and make him feel better. And am I doing something wrong for even talking to these guys in the first place, before I know their intentions? Edit. I should have made it clear that I do not continue conversations after guys make any comments hitting on me, especially rude ones. I do shut it down, but this forum is the wake-up call. I need to shut it down with force, something I should have been doing but was too scared to for whatever reason. Stories number 43. To full going on a bender, my family called a wellness check, and I got fired. I, 30F, got to drunk H*GH this weekend and went on a complete bender for about 4 days. I skipped work and didn't call in. My job called my emergency contact, my mom, who I got in an argument with over the weekend while on the bender. Anyways, my mom called the police to do a wellness check on me. I've been on the verge of a mental breakdown for almost a year. I have reached out to loved ones for help and nobody can ever help. I'm not *icidal, for the fact that I would never leave my 6-year-old without a mother. But I struggle with the fact that he's the only reason I'm still here. Life is too hard for me and I feel weak saying I can't handle it. But I can't. I want help, I want therapy, I want all of it. I just can't afford it and don't know how to fix my life after this fuck up. TLDR, I went on a 4-day bender, lost my job, forced my mom to call the police for a wellness check. I'm so overwhelmed with life and managed to F my life up in one weekend and don't know how to fix it. Stories number 44. Just found out my now ex-wife got married before our divorce. A while ago I made a post about my wife and I separating. Later it was found out to be an affair and the whole situation really devolved from there. As it turns out, she married her affair partner in Vegas a week after I had our home in Colorado. They married on November 3rd and our divorce was not finalized until February 10th. The man is still married to his current wife and the marriage to my ex-wife is void and illegal. Now his wife is pressing charges for bigamy and using that in her own custody in alimony fight in the divorce. They can potentially pay a fine and/or face prison time. I'm not rooting for her to go to prison, but I would be lying if some part of me didn't feel good watching her face the consequences of her actions. I just can't believe two people could be so evil like this and can carry on together as if they haven't just destroyed the lives of everyone around them. He was her boss and lost his job because of this. Some other DRS left the practice because of the work environment it had created. This man's wife and kids have been completely abandoned. I've been gaslit and made to feel like the villain. I'm just very thankful to be moving on with my life and not having to deal with this. This did wipe away any remaining feelings I had for her. What a disgrace. I'm so ashamed, disappointed, and disgusted by who she turned out to be. We were best friends and partners for 11 years and now she's someone I don't recognize. I know not all people are like this, but it does give me pause about dating again. Not really seeking advice, I guess. Just wanted to vent and share this crazy turn of events. Edit, I just want to clear a couple things up from the comments. I'm not pressing charges or getting involved in this legal battle for a few reasons. My divorce was finalized a couple weeks ago and I got out with my assets, savings, and retirement, and she kept her massive debts. I'm not looking to re-enter a legal battle where I have nothing to gain. There is no alimony or children, so we have truly cut all ties. I'm sharing my marriage license and statement of divorce with the AP's wife so that she can use it in her divorce proceedings to help with alimony and children support. This is no longer my fight, but it is still unfortunately ongoing for her. If you are blaming me or the AP's wife, get a fucking life. You have no idea how horribly these people treated us before or after they had an affair. I'm not looking for revenge. Although it is nice to hear they may face real consequences for their actions. I'm looking to put this behind me and start a new chapter in my life. Yes, I am aware their marriage is illegal. That's kind of the whole point of the thread. I'm not going to get with the AP's wife. She is a lovely woman, attorney, and mother, but I am not interested in her. I also do not want a relationship with her, friendly or romantic. I just want to move on and put the past behind me. I'll help with her divorce how I can, but that is all. Also, the idea of raising that man's kids is not a test of character I think I am capable of.